You should see the starting soon screen very soon. It should pop up. I'm gonna quickly mute some things just so you guys don't get, there we go. You guys don't get like a crazy thing. But yeah, go ahead and head on over there. It is youtube.com/c/rosebudsrealm. And it is the live on there. Or if you go to my Instagram, I automatically link to the YouTube video. And if you're not able to tune in tonight or you're not finished with part 1 and part 2, no fears. This live will be saved on YouTube forever. So you can always go back and reference it. I'm new here. I just wanted to ask how to get access to the character list in the recap. So the character list is going to be on Discord. I'm also going to be sending that out to my newsletter. If you are part of my newsletter, which is on my website, they will get it at the end of the month, like a full one. This one's only a part 1, no spoilers. So there's a few characters with blank descriptions, including Bryce. So it'll be on Discord and my newsletter. Those 2 places. But the live stream is on YouTube. It is linked on my profile. If you actually click the Instagram, it'll also drop down to YouTube. So you just click there and you can watch it anytime. You don't have to watch it right now if you don't want to, but it's more interactive, more fun. I tend to be a fly by the seat of my pants type of live streamer. So you guys will have fun with me tonight. Oh, look, I see everyone in here. Hi, everyone. Hello, hello. This is so pretty. Thank you. This was, for anyone who's seen the live stream on YouTube, if anyone saw my old starting soon screen, I logged in today and it was not there and I panicked. So I made this very quickly and did not realize it was the same font as the Sarah J. Maas on the top of Crescent City. So I love it. Rushing to finish. I know. Part 1 and part 2 was a bit of a jot, but finished the book last night. Ooh, love it. You guys are great. Okay, cool. Looks like we're having quite a few people in there. We're gonna start in, I'm gonna close this out. I'm gonna look, oh, whoops. I'm just closing out a million tabs. Okay. We are going to start with part 1. Part 1, which I probably know the best. Part 2 is a little, I'm not gonna keep you guys here forever, but part 1 had a lot of information, so we'll dive into that. But for anyone, I'm just curious, was this anyone's first time reading it, or is this most people's rereads? Or did anyone not reread and you're like, look, I'm just gonna let Sarah recap it for me? This is my first time reading it. I didn't know there was so much in this book. Yeah. She essentially took the world building she put in Throne of Glass to Air of Fire and was like, 1 book. Reread, first time. Nice. We got some first timers, we got some rereaders. I love it. I'm glad first timers are reading it now, because I feel like if you did it right before the book came out, you might be like, what is going on? So that is why we are doing all these crazy recaps. I have a crazy theory about the Viper Queen and Luna. Ooh, the Viper Queen. I love that. Oh, and at the end of the night, it will be a full spoiler of Crescent City, and I will reveal my theory around Hunt's father, because I know some of you guys really want to know. Just letting you recap it for me. Perfect. Hunt reminds me of a mix between Reese and Rowan. I completely agree. Relying on you instead of the reread. Perfect. This is a reread for me. I still don't think I understand the world building stuff. We're going to go through that in depth tonight. Very thankful to have the live streams in the club. It's nice to go through the CC and the guide. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Our guide right now is chaotic, so you guys aren't going to get this one, but you'll get a much more refined one. Which, by the way, if you are in the live stream, I don't know if Samantha's in there yet, but she is the one who helps me with, she helped me with Throne of Glass, and she's helping me with Crescent City. Give her big kudos, because she killed these notes, and then I went in and just made it more chaotic. So this is not a one-man show. This is a full team effort, let me tell you. And I'm so grateful for our incredible book club, because y'all keep me sane. And if you want to keep talking about Crescent City, not just tonight, but in general, you can join our Discord. We are having Crescent City, House of Earth and Blood is our book of the month for this month. And then Sky and Breath is next month. And then we will reveal the March book later, but it is a little bit different. It's a little bit of a lighter tone. How do I join the live stream? It is on YouTube. If you are on my Instagram, it's the link. Or if you go to my profile, you can go to YouTube. If you click the Instagram icon, it'll take you to YouTube too. So it's there. Yeah, Samantha's incredible. I love her to death. Oh, I'm first time reread. Sorry, I missed these comments. Rereads. I have theories about Hunt's father. Literally my first live stream for a book. Yes. Hi. I'm here. Hi. Okay, Samantha is in the live stream. She's amazing. She is incredible. I love her to death. How can I join your team? The Discord is awesome. Thank you. How can we find the CC notes on Discord? They're not live yet. They will be at the end of this weekend. I still have to go in and add some and then refine it and make it look pretty for you guys. So forgive me, I'm a bit of a perfectionist. I'm glad to be here. I've been blowing up on the Discord with my thoughts and love for Rune. Girl, we're going to have a whole Rune conversation tonight because I am a massive Rune lover. Who is Hunt's father? Wow, the work you ladies have put into this. Yeah, we're psychotic. That's the best way to put it. You join my book club and you get like in-depth guides and like crazy, crazy conversations. You join another book club and it's like, let's drink wine and let's talk. And I'm like, no, we're gonna do intense fantasies and we're gonna make this less intimidating for everyone. That is my goal in life. Discord overwhelmed me more than my 5 kids. That's okay. Our Discord is a lot. I've made my own notes for CC. Love that. Love that. I literally referenced the character sheet the whole entire book. Oh, I'm glad. Our notes tend to be crazy trains. Yeah. Yeah, you guys have no idea what the notes look like for Throne of Glass. They look psychotic. Okay, so I'm going to go live officially. You're going to see my face on words. On YouTube in about 3 minutes. So if you have not head over there, I would head over there now because we're going to go ahead and dive right on in. We're probably going to spend a good chunk talking lore for part 1, and then we'll go into plot points of part 2. So it's going to be a bit of a research / I'm just going to kind of walk you through some really important things. So yeah. I'm glad you're doing live stream. Cannot keep up with y'all, right? I got mad tabs for this. So do I. The character sheet has been so helpful. First time reader. Good. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, my friend is reading CC for the first time and I sent her the character sheet immediately. Good. We also are going to update that sheet at the end of the month. We'll have a spoiler and a non-spoiler one, and there will be photos of the characters. Samantha was incredible and got photos of them already, so we're just going to add those to it so you guys can see what some of them look like, because fun fact, I imagined Rune wrong for most of the book. I realized I was an idiot and I messed that up, which is very, very on brand for me. Will it be saved for later viewing? Yes, it will. So you will be able to watch it later if you want. First time readers, what are your thoughts? Oh, that's such a good question. It reminds me of college lectures. This is so much better. I know, I'm sorry. Someone, can I just say, I died laughing. Someone commented on one of my videos and said that I was crazy for tabbing a pleasure book, and it was probably my favorite comment I've ever received, because I don't think I've ever tabbed a college textbook, but I tabbed all of my Throne of Glass books. Are the Throne of Glass live streams available? They are not, unfortunately. So the main reason we switched to YouTube was because of the live streams didn't save. But fear not, I still have the notes. I still have a plan. And this is the 10-year anniversary of Throne of Glass this year. And I do have a very special surprise for you guys regarding it. So hold tight. You will see it end of summer, beginning of fall, because that was when Throne of Glass was released. So, but I do have a plan. Enjoying it so far. Okay, good. Oh my God, I saw the best friend art for Isaiah. Love that. Love that. I have been a friend who's been reading CC and been reading. She's sending me fan art so I don't get myself spoiled. Yeah, please do not look up fan art if you have not finished this book. Please, especially of Bryce and Hunt. Do not look up fan. Actually, you can look up Hunt fan art. That's fine. Do not look up Bryce fan art. Yay. To read. Yeah, I went straight to your account for help. Yeah. Look, I'm not giving up the Throne of Glass Queen title very easily. You know, I may not be doing it on a bi-weekly basis, but I know my stuff. I highlighted my college text. This is so much fun. I read it back in December of 2020, so I definitely needed this. Well, you and I are in the same boat. Okay, friends, I am officially on YouTube. So if you would like to head over, I would do that right now, because I'm going to turn off the live stream on TikTok because my phone is currently in shot of the camera, so we can't keep this going, unfortunately. But I appreciate y'all hanging out with me. This has been absolutely incredible. I am going to go start this live stream. I'm going to turn off my music so I don't get fully copyrighted. Alexa off. There we go. So now you guys will have just full conversations. Where's the channel? If you go to my profile and you click the Instagram icon, it'll take you to YouTube and you go right there. Or you can also click the link. That also takes you to YouTube. So there you go. Oh, and if you go to Instagram, it is linked. So I'll do another link really quick. When I end this, I'll go on Instagram and share the link again so you guys have it. But yeah, woke up from a nap and I have arrived. I love it. I love a good nap. This is my favorite SJM so far. I hope Sky and Breath is amazing. I don't have my copy with me. That's okay. That's okay. I have my Kindle copy in front of me, so that's fine. Okay, friends, I am hopping off. I thank you guys for hanging out. This has been absolutely incredible. I'm going to go chat with y'all on YouTube. We're going to have a real fun time talking Crescent City, House of Earth and Blood, Part 1 and Part 2. So, love y'all dearly. I will check you out over on YouTube, and I'll see you later. Goodbye. Bye, 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 bye. And the link is on my profile. All right. Give me 1 second. I'm going to put a link on Instagram. So forgive me. My Alexa, oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know, isn't that awkward? She was playing music and I was trying to tell her no. You know, I was like, girl, like, shh. Okay, what's a good photo? Ooh, let's do this one. Okay, I'm gonna say live. Actually, no, let's do this. I'm gonna take a picture. Here, I'll show you my face. Hi. Okay, ready? Ready for the selfie? The book is behind me, so I can't take it with the book, but. Ooh, here, look at that. I put love live on YouTube. All right. And then we will link it, which I love this new feature. And we're just going to tap that, make it look pretty, wrap it up. Hi, friends. How are you guys doing? Are you guys so excited? I'm so excited. I am so excited. Is anyone else like super excited? I'm giddy as all hell. I'm so excited. Oh, I'm so ready. Okay, well, first off, hi, everyone. For anyone who's been on a live stream before, hello, 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 hello. Welcome to YouTube, because we used to do live streams on Twitch, but we are switching in 2020, new year, new me. Live streams on YouTube now because they save forever, so shout out to that. I absolutely love it. We need the details on your lipstick. Oh, if I get up, I'm going to go grab it because I forget what it's called, but thank you, thank you. I do love a good red. Okay, welcome to the rabbit hole. Yeah, you should read her other series too. Oh my gosh, yes. So excited, very excited. I'm so glad you guys are here. We're gonna have so much fun. So tonight we're gonna be recapping Crescent City Part 1 and Part 2. It is going to be a bit of a like a chaotic live stream, I should say. I'm going to try and keep us as organized and on track as possible, but feel free to go into the comments. If you have a question, a comment, concern, you can go in there and I'll respond. And then I also have the Kindle open, so I may reference the Kindle a little bit, or I may, if you have your book close by, I may say like, hey, let's all look at this chapter together, more in Part 2 than in Part 1, because Part 2, I think we're just going to try and wrap it up since there's 38 chapters that we are covering tonight, so that's quite a bit. And I know we want to spend a good chunk of time on Part 1 since there's so much lore, and I know that is the confusing part. But before I dive into this, I just want to give a quick shout out to Samantha, who's in the comments. She is one of my incredible members of the court. She helped me with these Crescent City notes, so you guys have to give her major love and major kudos, because a lot of what I'm reading tonight is in collaboration with her, so I cannot do what I do without her, so you have to give her love. Okay, now let's dive into this. So I have my notes open. These are chaotic notes. These are not the notes that you guys are going to be getting this weekend, but they will have some references. The first thing I want to tell you guys before we dive into this is when I did my reread, there was a few things that I was looking for, okay? One of them being just basic plot of House of Earth and Blood, because there was like blank spots in my memory of certain things, so I wanted to feel like I understood the story a little bit better. So just a basic plot, a layout, you know, nothing related to Sky and Breath, just basic of Earth and Blood. The second thing would be characters, just really paying attention to their descriptions regarding, you know, their personalities, what they looked like, if magic beings, all those types of things. And then another thing would be lore. I think lore is a big one in Crescent City. There is a lot of lore in Crescent City. And so we are going to try and dissect this as best we can. Did you paint your nails to match your book? Yes. So my nail, wait, hold on. Quick divergent. Fun fact. My nail artist is incredible. And I told her that I was reading a book where the girl goes and gets her nails done. And she said, find out what she gets and let's paint your nails like that. So, Bryce at one point has red nails and then she has gold nails. And so I combined them and did red nails, but tipped them gold. So, and then I have my, if you know, you know. So, anyways, lore was very important for me. And then the next thing that I really wanted to pay attention to was crossover, which I won't get into too much tonight, but I'll give you some little hints or wink at you if I feel like that was a bit of a crossover-y type thing. I may reference a few things. If I reference, by the way, this will be a full spoiler conversation of Throne of Glass, ACOTAR, and Crescent City, but I will warn you. So if you haven't read those books, I'll let you know and I'll wave so that way you're good to listen. But I will be doing some small references of some of these books, just to give you an idea of what where my brain is at. So, all right, are we ready to dive into this? Are we ready to go? Okay, let's do it. Okay, hold on a second. I'm going to just move some things around on my screen, just so that way I'm all good to go. Okay, so first things first, chapter 1. I just want to quickly say, when I read chapter 1 the very first time, I remember I couldn't get past page 1. So if anyone else is like me and they could not get past page 1 of Crescent City, don't worry. It is way better the second or third time. Okay, let's see. I need House of Thank You. We love chaotic notes. Oh my God, telling crossover mentions were crazy. Yeah. All right, so let's talk about chapter 1. So chapter 1, it mentions the antiquity, words. Danica knocks on the Griffin Antiquities building. This is obviously where Bryce works. We spend a lot of time here in Crescent City. And the first thing I want to make sure that is noted is, number one, Bryce has been working in the Antiquities office for a year now. And Danica, when she walks through the door, puts the sword in the storage closet. Everyone remember that the sword is in the storage closet, at least at this point in the story. Okay. And as a quick little side note, something that's very random and not super spoilery. I loved that the Antiquities building is made of sandstone, which is really random because I'm pretty sure that most of Tower of Dawn's buildings in the southern continent were also made of sandstone. So just throwing that out there now that was already a major crossover. The other thing that we get in this first chapter is Jezeba's backstory. And Jezeba, if you don't remember, she is the enchantress. She was a witch. For those of you that don't remember, witches are a part of is it Earth and Blood? See, even I don't remember. I'm pulling up our own notes page to confirm. Witches are Earth and Blood. So witches are Earth and Blood. Jezeba deflected and went to Flame and Shadow. She now directly supports the Underking. Yeah. And the other thing that I think is very interesting and something that I noticed was they called Jezeba quite a few times an enchantress or a sorceress. And I wasn't sure if this was just a synonym for witches, but there's actually quite a few references in part 1 and part 2 that clarify that it's not, there is a difference between a witch and a sorceress. I don't know what it is, but I thought it was very interesting that there was a difference between the thing. Yes. And iron doors. There's lots of iron doors in this book. The other thing I thought that was very strange is that there is a certain feeling that Bryce has when she touches the enchantments and the iron doors, and that I thought was very weird. My very crazy crack theory right now is not a huge spoiler of ACOTAR, but the wall that is around Perithian, at one point Feyre describes the feeling of going through the wall. It is it's not the first time or the second time, but it's one of the times when she goes back over, and it's a very similar description of going through that wall. It's the same feeling Bryce feels when her hands tingle the enchantments. It's also very similar to the description that Rowan says in Queen of Shadows when describing going from Wendell into Otterland. So again, not huge spoilers. That's why I'm not giving you guys major warnings, but just some random pieces of information. So, Okay, so that is some iron negates Fey powers. So that's a really good question. Iron is a weakness of Akatar, or sorry, iron is a weakness of Throne of Glass Fae. So Throne of Glass Fae do have a weakness to iron. Akatar Fae have a weakness to ash, wood. So there is a difference between the two. It is not clear what the weakness is of Fae in Crescent City, but iron is definitely kind of up there because a lot of enchantments or locks are made of iron. So just kind of a little interesting little tidbit. So I just want to quickly read what it says about Jezeba. So she's a 400-year-old enchantress who had been born a witch and defected. Jezeba had joined the House of Flame and Shadow and now only answers to the Underking himself. Flame and Shadow suited her well. She possessed an arsenal of spells to rival any sorcerer or necromancer in the darkest houses. She is known to change people into animals, which when irritated enough. Bryce never dared ask if the small animals in the dozen of tanks of terrariums had been always animals. So it is a bit of a that is a bit of a crazy kind of thing. So then moving on, it says one of the reasons. So we find out the reason Danica is, the other thing I want to quickly say, because wink, 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 wink. Remember this. It is a Thursday. It is in the summer. Danica always arrives on a Thursday because it is one of her nights off. So she usually comes by Griffin Antiquities. Danica was also a history major at CCU. For anyone who doesn't remember, Danica and Bryce met because they were roommates in college. The thing that I didn't realize she was a history major, and when I reread that, I was like, oh, very interesting. So Danica actually likes going to Griffin Antiquities because she's observing a lot of things, to be totally honest. Okay, maybe connections, but the Underking and Demon Apprentices, like Adis. Ooh, okay, we'll probably get into Adis next week, but yeah. I read a crack theory that ash wood is a high concentration of iron. Ooh, I love that. Just thinking, was the only way to kill Hybern was cutting his head off, or did they have to stab him? He was Fae, so okay. So Danica is obviously very upset when she arrives at Griffin Antiquities. Bryce asks her why. She reveals that Philip Briggs was released from prison. There weren't many, and all of the city heads of Lunathian are meeting to discuss this because everyone's very upset. Now, I want to take a second because one of the things I found very confusing, and I don't know if anyone else did, but there is a lot of things thrown at you. Words like Valbara, Lunathian, Crescent City, and Midgard. We're going to focus on these 4 right now, but there are other cities and locations named. But just to kind of put into perspective, because it did take multiple rereads for me to understand this. So Midgard is the planet, so think of it like Earth. Midgard is your planet, okay? Valbara, there's quite a few references of Valbara. Valbara is the district. Think of it like your county district. So it is a smaller section of the world. I kind of view it also as it's near the coast because Crescent City is the city that is on the coast of Valbara. So it's Crescent City, and then it's Valbara, and then it's Midgard. So that's kind of how it goes. One point there's references to Avalon, which is a Fey colony in an isle, and we'll kind of talk into that. There's references of other locations, which I won't confuse you guys tonight about that. I think they'll come in later as a play, but that is just so you guys understand the different layers. Maybe, okay, I'm just going to read some of your comments. SGM has the best opportunity to do a crossover. Yes. I completely agree. Maybe the sorceress, which is related to more description. I do think that has some sort of interesting thing. She really does have the best opportunity. Yeah, don't waste it. I agree. It's interesting, the tidbits called mid. Yeah. Interesting that it's called Midgard because of Viking roots. Yeah, the other thing too is something that bothered me this time around, and I think Samantha was sick of me bringing it up. So the Asteri are the creatures that rule over. I'm calling them creatures that rule over Midgard. They are all powerful. They live in Valbara. Valbara is also represents the no, they live in Pangira. Right? Samantha, am I right? Pangira? Pangira's in Valbara, though. This is what happens when Sarah J. Maas doesn't put a map in a book. Amulet came from Jezeba. Pangira is also important. Yeah. Okay. Pangira. Okay, so Pangira. Everyone's now. Okay, good. So really quickly, so the Asteri, they oversee everything. They talk a lot about the crossover or the Northern Rift. That is where the other Vanir is a term used in this book for all magical creatures, where the Vanir crossed over. There's lots of mention of the Fae crossing over. There's multiple shifters in this book, which I didn't realize the first time I'd read it, but there are multiple shifters. Pangira is where the Asteri are. There, it is the Eternal City. Thank you. So, just to explain again for anyone, Midgard, Valbara, Crescent City / Lunathian, and then Pangira. I'm not sure where it is on the map, but I believe it is close-ish to Valbara, but I'm not 100% sure. At one point, Jezeba in part 2 early on is in Pangira, so she spends quite a bit of time. Anyways, the Asteri, they oversee everything. The Asteri created the angels. It is said that they did that because they wanted to kind of solidify their power. The other thing that's really important to note is that it is not clear that humans lived on the planet before the Northern Rift, because the Asteri removed all of the text of any life before the Asteri lived there. So just some kind of things. North of Valbara. Perfect. Okay, yeah. Please, Sarah J. Maas, include a map in Sky and Breath. Thank you very much. Okay, so just so we all understand. I thought Pangira and Valbara were equal because Michael and Sandriel are both governors. So Sandriel does not oversee Pangira. I forget the city that she oversees. It might be in here, I forget. Anyways, so just to kind of explain kind of all of that. Now, I want to go back to chapter 1 because we're still on chapter 1, guys. And let's talk about this paragraph. This is a really important paragraph. It's about Danica talking about the city heads because they're meeting to discuss Philip Briggs. Okay, so there weren't many who would dare piss off the Archangel of Crescent City. Danica wouldn't hesitate because, remember, there is an Archangel that oversees one of the cities. So Micah is our Archangel. And given that all 7 heads of the city would be at this meeting, the odds happening were high. Things tend to escalate quickly when they were all in one room. There was little love lost between the 6 lower heads of Crescent City, the metropolis formerly known as Lunathian. Each head controlled a specific part of the city. The Prime, the Wolves of Moonwood, the Fae, Autumn King of the 5 Roses, the Under King in the Bone Quarter, the Viper Queen in the Meat Market, and the Oracle in the Old Square, and the River Queen, who rarely made an appearance, representing the mini house of Water and Blue, her blue court, far beneath the Istros River turquoise surface. Words. She seldom deigned to leave it. The humans of the Asphodel Meadows had no head, no seat, but Philip Briggs had found more than a few sympathizers because of it. But Micah, head of the Central Business District, ruled over them all. Beyond his city titles, there was the Archangel of Valbara. He was the Archangel of Valbara, so he is the Archangel of the district, not just Crescent City, the district. Ruler of the entire effing territory, I'm trying not to swear, answerable only to the 6 Asteri of the Eternal City and the beating heart of Pangira. There's another mention really quick that the Asteri, there are technically supposed to be 7 Asteri, but 1 is dead, and it is a sister, it is a female, and the seat is empty. Just want to throw that out there. The next thing is Bryce reveals that Jezeba is asking her to find the horn. Just to kind of say, reveals that she needs to find the horn. Danica kind of tells her, like, who cares? You shouldn't worry about it. But Bryce is like, look, I really need to impress Jezeba. I got to find this horn. Okay. It also revealed that Danica and Bryce have not made the drop. Danica is expected to claim an intense amount of power when she makes the drop, and it could potentially make her the alpha of all wolves. The other thing that I think is really important, because look, you may be asking yourself, Sarah, why are we talking about Danica? Danica's dead. Because I do think this is important. So there's a few things that, there's a few things that I want to bring up in regards to Danica. One being that there's a lot of mention of Danica's powers in Crescent City in the first chapter being so powerful. In fact, there's even a mention that she may have more power than the Autumn King, which is unheard of, which I think is an important little piece of information. The next thing that's mentioned is typically shifters, wolf shifters do not have they typically don't have more power than the Fae. And then the other thing that I thought was super interesting is just like 2 or 3 paragraphs after that, there is quite a large mention of Danica's father. I thought it was very interesting that that was brought up, which kind of makes me wonder, even with unfortunately Danica not making it past part 1, that we may see more of the Fendir family. Or I guess that wouldn't be her father's last name. You know what I mean. Anyways, let's talk about chapter 2. Chapter 2 is a lot about the Old Square, so I'm going to try and buzz through this as fast as I can. So Danica and Bryce, they leave the Antiquities. Ember calls Bryce. Danica is very connected to Bryce. Bryce's mother is automatically described as extremely protective and overprotective of Bryce. In fact, she guilt trips her and texts her when Bryce tries to hang up on her. Bryce's stepfather, he's a human as well, and he taught Bryce everything she knows about a gun. In fact, he made her train multiple times with a gun, which we see in part 2. So that is kind of something else. Now, let's talk about the gates. So I should have, hold on, let me do this. I tried to do something that would like make this easier. I made it hard on myself. So let's look at lore. Okay. So, oh, I did talk about the Asteri. Oh, here's some lore stuff that I kind of want to bring up about chapter 2 really quick. So the, Artisan Amulet. That is what Bryce wears. It's the 3 little circles, the gold necklace. So it was an amulet barely the size of a thumbnail gifted to Jezeba on Bryce's first day of work. It was a hazmat suit and a necklace. Danica had marveled when Bryce shown it off the amulet. Considerable protections against the influence of various magical objects. The amulet didn't come cheap, but Bryce didn't bother to delude herself into thinking her boss was giving it out of anything but self-interest. It would have been an insurance nightmare if Bryce didn't have one. So Bryce always wears the necklace. She does not take the necklace off, just so we say. Then the other thing, let's talk about these gates. So there was 7 gates throughout the city. They were all carved of enormous blocks of quartz, hewn from the I don't know how you say that, mountains of the north. The old square was often called the Heart Gate, thanks to its location in the dead center of Lunathian. The other 6 gates were located equidistant from each other, each one opening onto a road of a walled city. They were about 4 feet from the ground, and there was a dial pad. It was gold. It had 7 gems on it, each for representing a different quarter. There was an insignia. So these are just some things. I won't read to you what's everything on here, but when you guys get the notes of this, you guys can reference it. The 7 gates of the city, each set along a ley line through the Lunathian. It was designed as a quick way for the guards and districts to speak to each other. When someone merely placed their hand on the golden disc, it spoke. The wielder's voice would travel to one of the other gates, lighting it up. The district he would hear the voice. So if you look at the map on the book, which I think I have a small one next to me. I was like, I know I have a book. I have a small one. So if you look at a book, I love how this says, think Game of Thrones meets Buffy the Vampire Slayer with a drizzle of E.L. James. Seriously? I don't think that's accurate. Okay, this is the map, okay? So if you look at the map, you can see the ley lines on it. You can see where the gates are. Yes, everyone, please make sure that you do not spoil past part 2. No conversations past that. We will at the very end reserve it just for some little rants. So don't bring it up right now. Just saying. Okay. Let me see. Okay, so then it says that there was some dumb superstitions about the gates, claiming that wishes could come true and they could give over a droplet of your power to make an offering to the 5 gods. And we do have in the character guide, all 5 gods are listed, just so you know. E.L. James, that's insulting, right? Is Jezeba protecting Bryce for good intentions or projecting Bryce to have it as leverage in future, though? I don't know. That's a great question. That is a great question. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about chapter 3. We're going to... actually, wait. Did I talk about anything else? Oh, the drop. Okay, let's talk about the drop super, super quick. Okay, so technically it wasn't true immortality. The Vanir did age and die either of natural causes or other methods, but the aging process was slowed after the drop. Depending on the species, it could take centuries to show a wrinkle. Okay, everyone pay attention. All right, so the Fae could last thousands of years. The shifters and witches usually only 5 centuries. Angels were somewhere in between. Full humans did not make the drop as they bore no magic. And compared to humans with ordinary lifespans and slow healing, the Vanir were essentially immortal. Some species bore children who didn't even enter maturity until their 80s. Most were very, very hard to kill. So let's break this down. Quick crossover, not a huge spoiler, so I'm not going to give you like any warnings. Throne of Glass Fae live to about 1,000 years, but then they fade after that, but they could live longer. So that is actually lined up with Throne of Glass Fae. Akatar Fae definitely live longer than that. I mean, I'm pretty sure most of the Fae in that book are like over 500 years old. So kind of doing that. Witches, the oldest witch in Throne of Glass is 700 years old. And then our favorite witch of all is in her hundreds. No witches aging regardless. There's not a lot of witch information in Akatar, so I can't confirm that. Shifters, obviously there aren't any shifters in the other books, so we can't really confirm that either. So yeah, that's where we stand regarding crossover and aging. Kind of lines up, basically. Jezeba gives me evil vibes. Yeah, that's a good point. The tagline is so awful. Yeah, why? Why did they do that tagline? I have no idea. Okay, so we'll come back to the drop a little bit, but I just want to make sure we talked about that. All right, let me go back to chapter 3. Oh, no, I'm sorry, chapter 2. So Ember calls Bryce. Danica and Bryce both go up to the gate and they make a wish. This is probably one of the moments where I fell in love with Bryce because Bryce made a funny comment about Danica's nails and she's like, Danica's nails look like shit and she should get them done. And that was her wish and love that. Then I also want to talk about Bryce and Danica's power. So there's this paragraph. It says, yet while Bryce would inherit barely enough power to do a cool party trick, Danica was expected to claim a sea of power that would put her ranking far past Sabine being her mother, likely equaled that to Fae royalty, maybe even beyond the Autumn King himself. It was unheard of for a shifter to have that sort of power, yet all the standard childhood tests had confirmed it. Once Danica dropped, she became a considerable power among the wolves, like of which had not been seen in the elder days across the sea. Danica wouldn't just become the prime of Crescent City wolves. No, she had the potential to become the alpha of all wolves on the planet. And then there's also a little bit of a discussion about Fury. Fury, for those of you that don't remember, is an assassin. She is one of Bryce's and Danica's best friends. It is usually like, they're usually in a group. It's usually Danica, Bryce, Juniper, who is a fawn, and then Fury. So Fury, who we don't know what type of Vanir she is, made the drop at age 21, hadn't chosen the age for herself. It just happened or was forced upon her. They didn't know for sure. Fury's attendance at CCU had only been a front for a mission. Most of her time was spent truly doing effed up things for the disgusting amounts of money over in Pangira. She made a point to never give the details. Assassin, Danica claimed. Even sweet Juniper, the fawn who occupied the fourth side of their little friendship square, admitted the odds were Fury was a merc. Whether Fury was occasionally employed by the Asteri or a puppet of the Imperial Senate, it was up for debate as well, but none of them really cared, not when Fury always had their back. So Fury is obviously a good friend, but also someone you don't want to mess with. Jezeba definitely seems sus to me, not necessarily evil, feel that. Tamlin is Fae, he could shapeshift, which isn't common, not a shifter. Right, exactly. What is Fury? Fury is sus. No, what is Fury? Yeah, I know. It's a great question. And then right after that paragraph about Danica and her power, there is this tiny paragraph which I wrote down because it kind of like made me think. So Sabine was a piece of shit, never whispered or hinted who Danica's father might be. So Danica grew up with absolutely no one except her grandfather, who was too old and withdrawn to spare Danica from her mother's cruelty. So I don't know if he's ever going to come up, but it seemed like those types of hints are something that Sarah J. Maas typically wants to talk about. Okay, so then let's talk about chapter 3. Bryce then arrives at the apartment. The whole pack is there. There's a bit of small talk. They go into the kitchen. And Danica explains what happens with the city heads. So officially, Micah, the Autumn King, and the Oracle he was officially released. Micah, the Autumn King, and the Oracle pored over every law and bylaw and still could not find a way around that loophole. Rune and Declan had run some fancy tech searches and found nothing. Sabine ordered the Scythe Moon Pack, that's her pack, by the way, to watch Briggs tonight, along with some of the 33rd, because this night, on this Thursday summer night, it was Danica's pack's night off, and they usually spent it together. It is also mentioned, and I do think this is important to bring up for Sky and Breath, that the prime wolf is most likely going to die. So it would be soon. Everyone said it was only about a year or two until the current prime of the wolves, nearly 400 years old, had his sailing across the Istros to the Bone Quarter for his final sleep. There was no way that the black boat wouldn't tip for him. No way his soul would be deemed unworthy. He'd be welcomed in the Under King's realm, access to the mist-veiled shores, and then Sabine's reign would begin. So, just a little... Oh, hi, Lav. What if they were half-sister? Daddy... Oh, yeah, I haven't talked about Rune much because he hasn't popped up, but obviously Rune and Bryce are pretending to be cousins, distant cousins, but we all know they're brother and sister. Half brother and sister. Anyways, this is a really great chapter. I didn't want to include a lot of the pain, but this is a funny chapter about they're in the apartment. We hear a lot about the wolves. Connor is pining hard for Bryce, and apparently he's been doing that for a very long time. But Bryce is on her way with a date with Reed Render. And in my personal opinion, Reed Render is going to come back and bite us in the ass because he knows something that we don't know. So remember this guy's name because I'm willing to bet that he's going to come back and bite us in the ass. Okay. So a bit of background around Reed Industries. If you don't remember, Reed Render, his father owns Reed Industries. It is the most popular, rich human. It's one of the, what does it say? It's owned by humans. It's very, very rare. We're one of the few families to have risen in Vanir high society. So this is obviously very important. What happens to the people that die outside of CC? Do they have their own bone quarter? I don't know. That's a good question. Probably. I don't trust SEM characters, even if they're dead or not. Yeah, I feel that. Okay, so this is a little bit of background on Reed. It says, it didn't hurt that everyone wanted a piece of Render Industries these days. Even Micah was a major investor in the cutting edge experiments. It was nothing out of the ordinary when the governor invested in everything from tech to vineyards to schools. But since Micah was on Sabine's eternal shit list, pissing off her mother by working at the human company he supported was likely even better for Danica than a sense of free will and generous pay, because it is revealed that all predator shifters are part of the Ox. In my personal opinion, I view the Ox as like a police precinct, like, different, but it's obviously different. And all of the predator shifters, they are required to be a part of the Ox. And so Danica, they get a very great pay. They get a generous pay. They mention at one point that the reason they're in this like crappy little apartment is because this is what Bryce can afford, but Danica can afford way more, which we find out in part 2. So just a little tidbit. And then she leaves. I left out all the parts about Danica saying I love you and all this other stuff. So if you want to read that, you can go back and read that in the chapter, but we don't need that pain. All right, let's move on to chapter 4. So let's talk about chapter 4. So Bryce goes to the Pearl and Rose and has a date with Reed. Pearl and Rose is just a very fancy restaurant in Crescent City. Reed had the easy manners of someone brought up with money, education, no doors, locked to his desires. The Renders were one of the few human families who had risen into Vanir high society. Reed was 45 minutes late to the date, which pisses Bryce off completely. Bryce, who, if you don't remember, literally spent no time getting ready for this date. And this is what Reed explains why he was late, because there was an emergency meeting, and he says that some of the Malakim are restless about the developments in the Pangerian conflict. They needed reassurance their investments were still sound. The call ran long. So the Pangerian conflict, the fight Briggs so badly wanted to bring to this territory, the wine that had gone to her head eddied into an oily pool in her gut. The angels think that the war might spread here. Spying no one of interest in the restaurant, Reed flipped open his leather-bound menu. No, the Asteri wouldn't let that happen. The Asteri let it happened over there. His lips twitched downward. It's a complicated issue, Bryce. So he knows more than he's leading on. Reading that paragraph this time around and knowing what the summary is already on the back of Sky and Breath, my spidey senses, my SJM senses were tingling. So just throwing that out there. Then it goes on to say what the most recent report is. So the reports of the territory across the Haldron Sea were grim. Human resistance was prepared to wipe themselves out rather than to submit to the Asteri and their elected Senate rule. For 40 years now, the war raged in the vast Pangeran territory, wrecking cities, creeping towards the stormy sea. Should the conflict cross it, Crescent City, sitting on the Valbara southeast coast, midway up the peninsula, called the Hand, for its shape of a monstrous land jutted out, would be one of the first places in its path. So again, not having a map, I'm not really sure what that looks like, but it sounds to me like outside of Valbara, it's pretty bad, the war is, but inside of the physical Valbara district, we don't really see it. We don't really know what's going on. So just throwing that out there. Okay. So then Bryce reveals that she's born of two houses, but she had to yield her allegiance to earth and blood so that she could accept the full ranking of her that her father gave her, which is basically the only thing her father gave her, the Autumn King, by the way. Then Bryce dumps Reed, and she accepts Connor's offer on a date, then goes out to party with Fury and Juniper. Bryce also buys some drugs, obviously, and she gets, completely wasted and faded. And she meets up with Fury and Juniper. And during that conversation, Fury also has some drugs. And Bryce at one point says to Fury, yeah, they were trying to sell me this thing called synth. And Juniper Fury gets pretty upset and tells her not to buy the synth. So wink, wink. Bryce then gets extremely intoxicated, arrives back at the home where she finds the apartment and the entire pack of devils completely ripped apart. They are totally shredded. She follows the attacker into the alley and finds a creature attacking an angel. She fights it off and is wounded in the process. She calls on the phone of the angel to ask for help, and then Hunt arrives and staples her leg. Let me see. That was chapter 5, by the way. Actually, wait, let me read some more of my chapter 5 notes. Okay. So White Raven, intoxicated, blah, blah. She comes back to the apartment. It says that the iron door was like a crumpled piece of paper. When Bryce realizes that the creature is still in the apartment, she grabs a table leg and runs after the creature. Rowan would be very proud. It's a demon. It has some feral thing with smooth, near-translucent gray skin. It crawled on 4 legs, spiny limbs, looked vaguely humanoid. The creature had no eyes, only smooth planes on the bone above deep slits. Its nose, the blood that leaked from its temple was clear. It was not red. By the way, this does not match any description of any creature that I have read in any Sarah J. Maas book, in case anyone's wondering. Bryce then finds the angel. The angel's bleeding out. She calls the cell phone. Okay, chapter 6. All right, let's talk chapter 6. Oh, the White Raven is a temple. Thank you. Why did I not talk about that? Oh, it's in my lore notes. Wait, where's my lore note? Okay, chapter 4, lore notes. Lore notes. Okay, the Vanir have been crawling through the northern rift, overtaking Midgard eons ago. The historians called it the crossing. Running was the best option if a Vanir saw a human and decided to make a meal for you. This is my wink wink crossover quote that I put. It was like what it had been like before this planet had found itself occupied by creatures from so many different worlds, all of them far more advanced and civilized than this one, when just the humans and ordinary animals, even the calendar system, hearken to the crossing with HE and VE, human era or Vanir era. And then I also thought that was really interesting is then there's mention of what slavery is like outside of Crescent City. So most humans did not find 15,000 years of near slavery of being prey and food and whores to be that amusing either. Never mind, in the recent centuries, the imperial state had granted humans more rights, with the Asteri's approval, of course. The fact remained that anyone who stepped out of line was thrown away back to where they started. They were literal slaves of the Republic. The slaves, at least, existed in mostly Pangaea. A few lived in Crescent Crescent City, namely among the warrior angels of the 33rd, the governor's personal legion, marked with the SPQM slave tattoo on their wrists, but they blended in for most of the part. Crescent City, for all its wealth and grade A assholes, was still a melting pot. One of the rare places where being a human didn't necessarily mean a lifetime of menial labor, though it didn't entitle you to much else. So I think that gives a good indication of what to expect for the rest of the book, because we really have not seen what that human side is like anywhere else in Valbara, Midgard. I mean, obviously in Crescent City, like Bryce said, it's pretty much a melting pot. And I do think this is going to play an important thing. So, okay, let's talk about the temple, the Raven. So the Raven was just that. It was a temple, or had been. The building now encased in ruins, but a dance floor remained among the original ancient stones of some long-forgotten god's temple. The carved stone pillars throughout still stood from that time. To dance inside was to worship the nameless god. Just kidding. Hinted at the age-worn carvings of satyrs and fauns, drinking and dancing and effing amid the grapevines, a temple of pleasure. That's what it had once been and what it became again. It's also mentioned in the very first chapter of part 2 that there are like prostitutes, but they view themselves as priestesses of the temple, which I think is hysterical. So, was there ever a year mentioned in ACOTAR or Throne of Glass? No. I don't think so. Okay, let's go back to Chapter 5. Chapter 6. Wait. Chapter 5, I want to quickly call out some more things. So you have Micah's, basically his like group. Oh, I should have put this. This is all Chapter 6 notes. See, this is why you guys don't get these notes. I have to go back through. Okay, Chapter 6. Let's talk about this. The Umbra Mortis arrives. Hunt Athalar is in the building, but in case you didn't remember, this very first chapter is actually not in Hunt's point of view. It's in Isaiah's point of view. So Isaiah finds Bryce. Okay. And do y'all remember the temple under Otterlin? It wasn't a temple. It was... no, it was a temple. It was the Truth. Queen of Shadows. Truth God. What's his name? I know the chapter. I'll look it up after. Someone remind me. In the court, someone remind me. Or Avery, if you're in here. Queen of Shadows. Truth. Just drugs, truth. I'll know what that is. I know what you're talking about. Oh, hold on. It's going to drive me nuts. When do they get the powder? Is it, you know what? I'll do this after. Just remind me to do it, because it's either in part 2 or part 3, Queen of Shadows. Any guesses on when CC is taking place? During Throne of Glass or after? Because ACOTAR is before Throne of Glass. We'll talk about the Sun Eater. I actually will, when we get to chapter 21, I believe it actually takes place way before Throne of Glass. Way before ACOTAR. I don't know where it is in the timeline for Throne of Glass, though. Okay, cool. Someone just remind me about the Queen of Shadows thing, because I'll look it up. Okay. This is the thing I want to quickly bring up about Chapter 6, because I think this is important to bring up. It was a thing that kind of, like, got my wheels turning about Hunt's father a little bit. So, this chapter's in Isaiah's point of view, and it talks about Isaiah brought Bryce back to the, she's in an interrogation room, and she's just staring at nothing. She essentially has gone into shock. And then Hunt says he remembers that, or Isaiah then remembers that Hunt is next to him. And this is how he describes Hunt. It took all of 2 centuries of Isaiah's training on and off the battlefield to avoid the flinching of at that voice, to turn slowly toward the angel he knew would be leaning against the doorway wearing his usual black battle suit, an angel who reason and history reminded him was an ally, though every instinct roared opposite: predator, killer, monster. There was no sign of the skull-faced helmet that had earned Hunt the nickname that whispered down every corridor and street in Crescent City, the Umbra Mortis, the shadow of death. Unable to decide whether to be relieved or worried in the absence of Hunt's infamous helmet, Isaiah wordlessly handed Micah's personal assassin a thin file, which was Bryce's file, by the way. I read that a few times and I was like, why would another angel question? Like, why would another angel instinctively see another angel and like think predator, monster, killer? I don't think Hunt, in my personal opinion, this isn't a huge spoiler to the entire book, I just don't think he's a full angel. I don't. I just don't. Can we talk a little bit about Aylin's description of... Ooh, not going to read that. Ooh, guys, keep the Throne of Glass spoilers. Keep it minimal. Okay. Just, it kind of, I have questions. So, okay. Then it says Hunt and Isaiah were on the scene earlier with Bryce. It took Hunt and Isaiah to calm Bryce down because she was feral and her thigh was bleeding. Hunt had cursed up a storm as he knelt before her, and she bucked, nearly kicking him in the balls. Then he had to put off his helmet, look her right in the eye, and told her to calm the F down. She'd completely fallen silent, just stared at Hunt, blank and hollow. She didn't so much as flinch as each punch of the staple gun Hunt had pulled from the small mud kit built into his battle suit. She just stared and stared. So he stapled her thigh, which obviously we see that she's got a little bit of thigh pain in part 2, and it is from that. So yeah. No, you guys are good. You guys are excited. It's okay. Okay. Hunt then looks at the file. He's shocked to discover that Danica and the pack of devils are completely dead. This is like, he really, I think he says like, oh my effing God. Like, he totally freaks out. Or he says Erd instead of God. It is also revealed that Hunt and Isaiah have been working together in Crescent City for 2 years, but they've known each other much longer. In fact, when the rebellion happened with Shahar, Isaiah was under Hunt, and now they're kind of equal / Isaiah is above Hunt. So it's a little confusing for Isaiah. He tries to be respectful of Hunt, essentially. Okay, then it says info on the halo and branding. So let's talk a little bit about the halo and branding. So, the Isaiah could barely remember what his friend looked like before those Pangerian witches had branded them, working their infernal spells into the ink themselves so they might let their crimes so they might never let their crimes be forgotten. The witch-bound magic bound the majority of their power. The halo, they called it, was a mockery of the divine auras early humans had once portrayed angels in possessing. There was also no hiding the second tattoo. It was stamped on the right of their wrists, SPQM. It was adorned on every flag and letterhead in the Republic. The 4 letters, encircled with 7 stars, adorned the wrist of everyone being owned by it. Even if Isaiah had chopped off his arm, the limb that regrew would still bear the mark. Such was the power of the witch ink. It was a fate worse than death, to become an eternal servant to those you sought to overthrow. Also, for anyone, because I know some people were like, what do you mean the Asteri created the angels? Here is the prompt. So the Asteri had created the angels to be their perfect soldiers and loyal servants. The angels had gifted with such power had relished in their role until Shahar, the archangel they once called Daystar, until Hunt, the others who had flown in Shahar's elite of the 18th Legion. The rebellion had failed, only for the humans to begin their own 40 years ago. The different cause, a different group, a species of fighters, but the sentiment was essentially the same. The Republic was the enemy, the rigid hierarchies of utter bullshit. So, just so you guys know, there is that. The other thing is... angel powers. So whether an ordinary angel or an archangel, the power was always some variation of the same. Rain, storms, and an occasional tornado. Isaiah himself could summon wind that could keep an enemy at bay, but none in living memory possessed Hunt's abilities to harness lightning to his will, or the depth of power to make it truly destructive. It had been Hunt's salvation and his destruction. So, yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Let me see. I'm trying to get this as quickly as we can go because I know you guys don't want to fully dive into this like crazy. Okay. So they've been. Okay. So Hunt's official role is tracking down and eliminating any demons who crept up through the cracks of the Northern Rift. To enter the world through the illegal summoning was the official role, but no one was well suited for Hunt's particular set. Okay. Then it says, of course, everyone assumes that this is tied to Briggs, because Briggs was released that day, so everyone assumes that he was the one who killed Danica and the pack. Briggs had to be 10 kinds of stupid to be released only to kill a thing that big. He was the leader of the Cures rebels, an offshoot of a larger rebellion movement, the Ophion. Hadn't seemed dumb, though. Just a fanatic hell-bent on starting a conflict to mirror the war raging across the scene. Sabine then arrives and starts yelling and complaining as she wants to know where the sword is, because she knows Bryce has it. Does everyone remember where is the sword? Is the Asteri that is dead a female? Yes. So are the Fae more powerful than the angels, like level-wise? I think it's questionable. Doesn't talk after Bryce. Does Hunt being a slave prevent him from fully unleashing his lightning? Yes. I feel like we don't ever see him really use his lightning powers. Great question. Not gonna answer that. The closet. That's right. The sword is in the closet. Okay, so Victoria, she is a wraith, and she goes into the interrogation room and tries to get Bryce to talk, but Bryce isn't talking. And it is revealed, this is a little bit of information about wraiths. I thought this was kind of important. So a wraith was one of the few non-Malachim who had rebelled with them 2 centuries ago. She'd been given to Micah soon afterwards, and her punishment had gone beyond the brow tattoo and slave markings, not nearly as brutal of what Hunt and Isaiah had endured. But basically what they did was wraith could take over different bodies, but she was forced to stay in this body, and she's already showing signs of basically the body wearing and decaying, which is absolutely, I mean, if anything, like she freaks me out. So like the whole situation just kind of like, ooh, weirds me out a little bit. Not her, but like, I don't know, this type of torture I don't like. So, anyways. Okay, so Victoria attempts to talk to Bryce, but she's in shock. She isn't going to talk, especially with all the drugs in her system. Everyone is just shocked to see that. Sabine is listening the entire time, and she is just getting more pissed off. So Isaiah then turns to Hunt, and he doesn't order Hunt. It says it's never an order. He never dared to order Hunt around, not when the male possessed a hair trigger temper that left the entire Imperial fighting unit smoldering. Even with the spells of his halo and binding that lightning, it was only 1/10 of his strength. So they then try to get Sabine out of the room, or I guess not watching Bryce being interrogated. Then Victoria starts to play through some of the events. She's reading some of the text messages, and she starts to she's talking. Then Hunt asks about Bryce and her family, and Isaiah explains that she has a human mother and a father who are not in Crescent City. It says that she's got a Fae father, obviously from her appearance and her ears, but there is no formal acknowledgement. Then Isaiah then shows Hunt Bryce's file, which is small, but Danica's file is massive, and it is only part 1, and it is quickly revealed because Sabine believes that Bryce put Danica into all these dangers, and that's not true. If anything, Danica actually probably got better when she met Bryce. So that's kind of an interesting thing. Victoria then starts to play some of the clips from Bryce's phone. This completely breaks Bryce. She throws the chair and then vomits, and that's when Hunt enters the room. Toxic motherhood. Hunt and Sandriel, the similarities between Reese and Amarantha. Yeah, for real. Sabina's the absolute worst. Her father, yeah. This chapter was so interesting. Yeah, sorry, no, we're spending a lot of time in part 1 because there's a lot of really interesting things, but we won't go into this in depth in part 2. Okay, so Hunt then comes in, and he tries to intervene. But as soon as that happens, the phone rings. It is Rune Dannon, and he tells them that they need to get Bryce out of the interrogation room immediately because she is a Fae, and that is under Fae territory. And he essentially is running in. This is why I love Rune so much. Rune explains that he's a distant cousin of Bryce. They all believe that because the Autumn King has no siblings, so they do actually think he is a distant cousin. Then Hunt makes the incredibly disgusting joke about like, oh, are you like sleeping with her? And Rune's like, she's family. Okay, stop. So just a quick little tidbit. And then she goes home. And then the final chapter in part 1, Bryce is in a hotel room with her mom. She's been there for 6 days. For the most part, she has not left at all, barely slept, barely done anything, but she is leaving to go to the Bone Quarter. She's not welcome at Danica's sailing at all, or the PAX. In fact, she's received multiple text messages just hating on her. But she doesn't care because she doesn't think she could handle the sailing anyways. But there's a fee that Bryce paid, and she's waiting for someone, and that is where part 1 ends. So, how long did that take me? An hour? We'll speed up part 2. Okay. Let's see. Important things that I want to quickly bring up before we totally wrap up part 1. Okay. Information about Rune. Rune Dannon, Crown Prince of Valbaran Fae, son of the Autumn King and current possessor of the Star Sword, the fabled dark blade of the ancient Starboard Fane, proof that the prince, chosen one status among the Fae, whatever the hell that meant. The sword was currently strapped on Rune's back, its black hilt devouring the glaring first lights. Isaiah had once heard someone say that the sword was made from iridium, mined from meteorite, forged in another world before the Fae had come through the Northern Rift. Just so you guys know, I have looked up iridium in ACOTAR, specifically War and Silver Flames. There was no mention of it. And that description does not match in anything in Throne of Glass. Okay, then quickly to explain the difference between Valbaran Fae versus Avalon. So the fire magic was common among the Valbaran Fae, wielded by the Autumn King himself, but rumor claimed that Rune's magic was more like those of his kin who ruled the sacred Fae Isles of Avalon across the sea. Power to summon shadows and mists that could only be veiled in a physical world, but in the mind as well. Perhaps even telepathy. And does anyone remember who rules over the Avalon Fae? Does anyone remember? We're going to find out, but anyone remember? Also, before, I know Deanna knows this, because she's the one who called it out, because I didn't notice this. The parts that they're divided in this book. So, in case you don't remember, this book is divided into 4 parts. They are titled The Hollow, the Trench, the Canyon, and the Ravine. Does anyone know the importance or the significance of that? Stag King. Yeah, Avalon Fae are ruled by the Stag King. Wink, wink. I was going to say, she definitely knows. Does anyone else know the significance of the 4 parts that this book is divided into? Levels of hell. They are the levels of hell. That is correct. So we are 1, 2, 3, 4 levels of hell deep. And there are a few others. The last one is the pit and then the chasm. And then I forget what, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm missing a middle one. The hollow, the trench, the canyon. I'm missing 2. So someone can correct me because I don't remember. All right. Let's talk about some of these. Part 2. Hold on, let me blow my nose. Does Rune's mother rule over the Avalon Fae? No. We'll talk a little bit about Rune's mother in a bit. She is brought up in one of these chapters. Okay. Chapter 8. Maximus Tertian. Hold on, let me get my book because I didn't. This is the part that I was bad about. Give me 1 second. Hold on. Now, if you're wondering when you see this book why it is not fully tabbed up to part 2, it is because I started reading on the Kindle because I wasn't feeling so well this morning. And so I only have it tabbed physically, and then I gotta go look at the Kindle. Okay, let's talk part 2. So chapter 8, I'm gonna go through some of my notes in here. All right, so Bryce, this is 22 months later, so it's almost 2 years. There are 7 levels of hell. Oh, thank you. The hollow, the trench, the canyon, the ravine. The 5th is called the chasm. The 6th holds the prince of the abyss. And the 7th is the prince of pit and star eater. Okay, so chapter 8, part 2. This is 22 months later. So Bryce is in the White Raven again. And she's sleeping with a lion shifter. Good job, Bryce. But she's actually there to meet Maximus Tertian, who is a vampire. He is a son of Lord Ceridian, the richest of the Pangerian vampire. The most monstrous. Rumor was to believe that he was filling bathtubs with blood of human maidens in the frosty mountain keep of their bathing in their youth. It's also revealed that Bryce has not had any alcohol in her system for 2 years. And my pink tabs in here, by the way, are they're like funny, like things I love. And there's a really funny line I loved about the vampire, on page 95 of the paperback edition. Okay. So then the other thing, 96 to 97, these 2 pages right here, I'm not going to read them, but I would recommend that you look at this because this is a massive dump of, this is a massive information about the drop. So they talk about the drop. There's lots of information that it was a pure, undiluted light. Each veneer emitted while making the drop. It was only during the drop that the flash of the first light appeared. It was raw, unfiltered magic. A lot of Crescent City is made by this first light, so that's why I bring it up. I forgot she slept with the shifter, right? I know. Rune's blade gives me truth teller vibes. What? Yeah, I mean, kind of. Okay, so I'm not going to read all of this, but I would suggest that you go through this and just kind of read these 2 pages. There's conversations about lack of oxygen, 6 minutes, barreling down. It was a pit waiting for death. So you had to have a physical anchor to get it. It was usually a family member or someone you trusted, but there were government employees who also could legally help you with the drop. Quick Kingdom of Ash spoilers. So if you have not read Kingdom of Ash, please, when I do this again, you can unmute me. So I know most people think of this and they think of the yielding for the witches in Kingdom of Ash. However, I couldn't help but when I read this, my immediate thought was Aelin when she put the keys in her arm. It sounds very similar to that description. Because I didn't realize until I did the reread of Kingdom of Ash recently how painful it was for Aelin to do that. This just sounds a little too similar. So that would be my guess. I don't think it's the same thing, but it gave me some Aelin Kingdom of Ash putting the keys in her arm vibes more than it gave me yielding witch vibes. So you're good. There you go. Okay. Moving on. So she does the business with Tertian. And then she hands him the envelope. This is my favorite part because I'm a feminist. I love women empowerment, but I also love when a man comes and saves the day. And Rune Dannon coming to save Bryce from creepy vampire guy was, my heart went a pitter patter. Pitter patter. Honestly. Pitter patter. Okay. So he comes to save her. I think it's really cute. Bryce gets irritated. Whatever. I don't care. You can see purple, by the way, on my book is Rune. So obviously I have a lot of Rune tabs. Also, there's a little bit of information about the Star Sword in this chapter. Rune then reveals that he's friends with Rizzo. Rizzo is a butterfly shifter. That is the most random, like, Sarah J. Maas, why? Butterfly? Like, why? Butterfly shifter? Why? I don't understand. I don't get it. Anyways, so he was the butterfly shifter. He was picky about his close circle. He liked to cultivate interesting groups of people who entertained him. I put a little sky and breath tab there because, well, if you know, you know, if you finish the book. Anyways, okay. Then on page 102 to 103, mainly 102, bottom of 102, kind of up here to this part, there's lots of, this is about the summit. So, because he tells Bryce that he wants her to kind of, the Autumn King is asking that Bryce lays low, and Bryce is like, whatever. So it says that the Asteri are sending over their favored commanders. He wants us all to look like good, obedient subjects. Honestly, I don't care, Bryce. I was just ordered to tell you not to get into trouble. He's been on edge. It says the Autumn King has been on edge about the whole needing to behave themselves. And he hasn't seen him riled up since 2 years ago with the whole Danica issue. Bryce then gets really upset and like, her drink explodes in her hands. It says the bartender whirled but kept away. No one at the bar dared looked for more than a breath, not as the crown prince of the Valbaran Fae. Rune then grips Bryce's hand and tells her to take a breath because the horrible, useless Fae side of her obeyed the dominance in his command, her body falling back on the instincts to bred into her despite her attempts to ignore them. So Bryce does have some Fae like instincts inside of her to listen to Rune. Okay? So then she makes a joke about, she still keeps up the front with Rune that she's drinking alcohol, but she's not. Then she goes to her apartment. There are, lots of different enchantments and locks. She also has her diffuser and, Syrinx the cat, or, I mean, it's not a cat, but I think it's a cat. It's a chimera, is there for a greeting. And yeah, and there's some really funny lines in here. So, okay, moving on to chapter 9. Chapter 9 is a hunt chapter. So he's basically killing someone. He then goes to the barracks of the Angel Legion. It's just interesting in this chapter to kind of see like how the angels interact with each other. You get some really kind of interesting hunt stuff. I'm going to pull up now you guys are just going to follow me along as I go through my chapters. Let me refresh this so I can see all my crazy highlights. Let's see here. Okay. So, at this hour, the city at least appeared asleep. The 5 buildings that made up the Comitium complex did too. There was cameras all around. By the way, there is mentions of cameras a lot in this book around the city, and I just, that's a little intense. Okay, so Hunt then, he's covered in blood when he arrives. Victoria, who is again the Wraith, she kind of ignores Hunt, which that's kind of what Hunt wants because they're all kind of sitting. You know what I imagine this? I don't know if anyone else who's in college or has gone to college, their dorm room was like this, but my dorm room, we had like the center, when you like, I lived on the 2nd floor my freshman year, and in the center of the dorm room was like a big TV, and there were like couches, and then on the different halls, there was like 4 halls, were all everyone's dorm rooms. So a lot of people hung out in the center, and then you just had like your individual sleeping quarters, and then there was like a shared shower space. So I imagine this very similarly, like everyone is sitting in the thing. Hi, Kelsey. I miss you. Text me, by the way. Let's hang out soon, okay? I was just thinking of you recently. 1984 vibes. Yes. Yes. Sarah, your wigs are killing me now. When you understand, you understand. Okay. Anyways, okay, so moving on. Naomi is also there. She's one of the angels. Naomi then tells Hunt that Isaiah told me that Micah wants you two to play investigators tomorrow for something in the old square. Isaiah will call you after breakfast with the details. The commander of the 33rd, acquired by Micah, acquired by Micah to shore up Crescent City's defenses when Isaiah had enjoyed every second there since he arrived more than a decade ago. In the 4 years, Hunt had seen the city's appeal be on it being cleaner, more organized, versions of any Pangerian metropolis with streets in clean lines rather than the meandering curves that often double back to themselves, as if there was no hurry to get there. So Sandriel rules over Ravelis, I believe is what it's called. Sandriel was the archangel and governor of the northwestern quadrant of Pangaea and Hunt's former owner before Micah had traded with her, desiring to have Hunt clear Crescent City of any enemies. Sandriel was also Shahar, who is Hunt's lover, twin. And so she looks just like her. It was a rare occurrence for twins to bear archangel title and power. A good omen, people believed, until Hunt, leading her forces, rebelled against everything the angel stood for. After the defeat on Mount Hermon, and had been arrogant enough to believe that despite the two angels before her, they failed to do so, she believed one to break them. So essentially, they're just kind of revealing some of the intense things. Bye, Kelsey. Yeah, I was like, she hasn't read this book. She should leave. I love you. I want to read this soon. I'll dip out. Okay, good. Like, I don't want her to get spoiled. Okay. She used to read Throne of Glass first. You should have heard my explanation of that, by the way. Okay, so then we get a little bit of backstory around this chapter 9, I think, is important if you want to go back and learn a little more about the war, about the archangels, because archangels then pass, it says, their parents had both been archangels whose titles had passed from their daughters after the assassin had somehow managed to rip them to shreds. He never forgets Shahar's theory that Sandriel had killed their parents to frame the assassin, that she had done it for herself and her sister so they might rule without interference. But there was never proof. Shahar was the day star, had rebelled against the fellow archangels in the Asteri because of it, and she wanted to free the rigid hierarchies, yes, would have brought the rebellion right to the Crystal Palace of the Asteri if it had been successful, but she also wanted to make her sister pay, and so Hunt was unleashed. He'd never known how many he had killed, but Micah, who had been on the battlefield and watched while Shahar fell at her twin sister's hand, had a list. They had to pay out commission for all the legionaries. Hunt had been asked how they'd been able to determine which killing blows had been made by the blade and not someone else's when he'd seen the number, 2,217. And if you don't remember Micah's contract, Micah told Hunt that if he kills that number of people for Micah, he will be free. So it was nearly impossible. For 4 years now, he had behaved, and tonight it put him at a grand total of 82. So he's doing great on that list. He's doing great. Okay. Micah was an archangel, a governor appointed by the Asteri. He was a king among the angels, law unto himself, especially in Valbara, so far from the 7 hills of the eternal city. If he deemed someone a threat or in need of a justice, then there would be no investigation, no trial, just his command, and usually Hunt. Hunt then goes into his room. I also want to quickly point out that it wasn't until someone, I think in our Discord, brought this up, but Reapers. So Reapers are part of Flame and Shadow, and they are mentioned quite a bit in this book. And not as like, I don't think you physically meet a Reaper, but there's lots of descriptions of like, well, they look like a Reaper. They, they're opposite of a Reaper and blah, blah. And this is one of those times where it's mention of a Reaper, and I'm like, what is this? I think they're more than they appear. Yeah, I agree. Was not the only one of the tray was not fallen. Thank you, Billy, for clarifying that. I did not have that marked on here. Who was not fallen? I read fallen. I saw someone mention the Zoom forever ago. Ran with it. The descriptions are just similar enough. Yeah. Wait, descriptions of what? Oh, is this the Valg theory? We'll talk about the Valg theory in a bit, okay? Okay. Then we find out that Hunt's original name is Orion, but he was lovingly called Hunt, but he thinks she would be, mortified to find out what happened to her. And that's kind of where the chapter ends. Then we get to chapter 10. And hold on, I'm going to blow my nose. If we're talking about the Asteri being Valg, y'all have no idea. That is I pray to God that that's what it is, but I do not think, I don't think Sarah J. Maas will do it, but she should do it. Anyways. Okay. So, let's see. Chapter 10. This is, probably one of my favorites because, Hunt arrives and talks to Bryce. So anyways, I wanted to kind of bring up some of the artifacts that are described in here. So there was a partial marble relief from the ruins of Mora, salvaged from a wrecked temple. The piece was the size of a coffee table with a rearing hippocamp filling most of it. The half horse, half fish creature had once dwelled in the cerulean waters of the Reagan Sea in Pangira until the ancient wars had destroyed it. Okay, so Rune with the Starborn powers, he would have to have an arranged marriage. Rune might sire a few children before them, but they wouldn't be acknowledged as royalty unless their father had chosen the path, unless they were worthy of it. Then, by the way, there's a Fae couple in here. This is why I bring it up. So then the Fae couple passes a mosaic from a courtyard of the once great palace of Elydium. Then study the intricate jade puzzle box that once belonged to a princess in a forgotten northern land. For anyone who sees princess in a forgotten northern land, no, not thrown a glass. I already checked. Then there is a fertility statue of Setmik. So there's lots of cities and locations named in this. Obviously we can't know what they all are because we don't have a map, but it would be really nice if we had a map. Okay. Then the next paragraph is from Hunt. They're outside of Griffin Antiquities. It was etched the sign was etched in archaic bold lettering. The words adorned with the set of a glaring owl eyes beneath them, as if daring any shop owners to enter. Ooh, where else have we seen an owl? Let me answer that, Tower of Dawn. Okay. Anyways. Okay, so Hunt and Isaiah are outside of it. They ring the doorbell multiple times. No one answers. Also, they don't see any major enchantments, but when Hunt scanned it again, he notices that Jezeba Roga, she doesn't have cameras hovering, but she has tons of enchantments around the building. So just kind of throwing that out there. Let's see. Okay, so want to quickly point out that Micah gives all of the slaves and a really great paycheck, even though he doesn't have to since they're slaves, and that's just confusing. Then Hunt says that he could smell the lilac and nutmeg, but there was something else. It was a gleam of the first stars of nightfall. That was what Bryce smells like. So she smells of lilac, nutmeg, and the first stars of nightfall. Okay. Then finally, when Bryce answers, she says to Micah, or she says to Isaiah and Hunt, I didn't order a pizza. And then it says, we're from the 33rd Legion. We're here to see Bryce Quinlan. I'm with clients. Come back later. It's a matter of urgency. I'm sorry. You're going to have to make an appointment. How about in 3 weeks? I got the 28th of April free. I'll pencil you in for noon. I just love Bryce. She's so funny. Okay. So then they go in, they try to talk to her. When Hunt slams his fist into the iron door, the same blow that smashed cars, shattered walls, and splintered bones, and that was without the aid of the storm in his veins. The iron didn't so much as shudder. His lightning skittered off of it. The iron door hissed and clicked and inched open. Bull's eye. So, throwing that out there. Anytime an owl's mentioned, right? I know. I think that's interesting because of another... Okay, so then thanks to Legion intel gathered over years that the small wood door behind the desk led up to Jezeba Roga's, I cannot say her last name, office, where the floor-to-ceiling internal window overlooked the showroom where they stood in. The simple iron door to their right led down to another full level, stocked with the legionaries weren't supposed to find. The enchantments on 2 doors were probably even more intense than the outside. Isaiah and Hunt are there to describe a murder. So they're telling her, they're letting her know that there was a murder that occurred. She's a little confused, finds out that it was Maximus Tertian, the vampire that she made the deal with. That was a bit creep to her. Then Hunt goes in to kind of explain. It says, when Hunt then tells her, she says, is this your way of feeling out whether I killed him? You don't seem too cut up about Tertian's death. The amber eyes slid to him, annoyance and lightning. He'd admit males would do a lot of effed up things for someone to look at them like that. He had done those things for Shahar once, so he kind of noticed. He's a little attracted to Bryce, you know? Then Bryce goes into a lot of details about, you know, meeting Maximus, and then she obviously they also know the details, so she's like, why are you really here? And finally, she goes, can you introduce yourselves? And Isaiah goes, I'm Isaiah, commander of the 33rd Legion. This is Hunt Athalar Mai. And Isaiah realizes he tripped up because he doesn't want to like explain that Hunt is below him. But Hunt then fills in the blanks for him and says his second, because Isaiah never pulled rank. Not that it mattered about the shit that Isaiah had been killed at least 3 dozen Imperial legionaries that day on Mount Hermon. No, and Hunt now bore the burden of paying back each of one of those to the Republic to fulfill Micah's bargain. They then ask Bryce to verify her whereabouts. She tells them basically that Rune and the doorman saw her. Then they ask what her relationship is to Rune. She says he's a distant cousin. And then they explain that Micah is on his way right now. And she asks why, and they say you should get on the phone with your boss, and they say because Maximus Tertian's injuries were identical to the ones inflicted upon Danica Fenry and the Pack of Devils, which obviously gets Bryce upset. So then she goes to call Jezeba. Jezeba answers, and Micah arrives. So it also quickly, before I finish up this chapter, it says that Danica had been murdered by a pit level demon, which would have required a deadly black salt to summon into the world. It could have been a coincidence, but it seemed quite clear that Briggs had been released, gotten his hands on the black salt, summoned the demon, and set loose to Danica and the Pack of Devils. So, throwing that out there. Wait. I think she gives him a blush. She reminds me of her sass is amazing. Micah gives vibes of Bad Boys, right? Love a strong... Oh my god, I love this description, right? Do we ever get the story behind... I don't know. That's a good point. Okay. All right. So Micah arrives. This is how Micah is described. Horrifically, indecently gorgeous, Hunt Athalar and Isaiah Tiburon stood behind him, almost as good looking, the latter giving her another bland smile. He obviously believed he was charming. The former, Hunt, stark eyes, missed nothing. Micah then, it says there were... Okay, so he sits down. He's described as midnight storm, sex, and death intertwined. So... Yep, I thought Micah was hot for sure reading that. Okay, so there are currently 10 archangels who rule the various territories of the Republic, all bearing the title of governor. This is at the very beginning of chapter 11. Answering only to the Asteri, an ordinary angel's magic might have leveled a building. They were considered powerful. The archangel's power could level an entire metropolis. There was no predicting where the extra strength that separated an archangel from an angel came from. Sometimes it was passed on, usually upon careful breeding, orders from the Asteri. Other times it popped up in unremarkable bloodlines. Unremarkable bloodlines. Okay. Okay. So, and then you know what? Well, we'll talk about this later. Okay. So then they explain that the, tattoo on the SPQM stands for Centas Populisk Midgard, the Midgard Senate and people. The Senate was anything but a puppet ruling body, as if the Asteri weren't the emperors and empresses ruling over everything, everyone eternally, and their rotting souls regenerating from one form to the next. Anyways, okay. Bryce then says, is there anything you guys want to drink? They say no. Then Jezeba appears on the screen. She is in Pangaea right now. She's actually in a hotel room. It says, why did Jezeba align herself with the House of Flame and Shadow and its leader, the Under King? What she did for him, she called herself a sorceress now, never a witch. And then it also explains that her voice was pleasant, disarming compared to the other members of Flame and Shadow, a hoarse rasp of reapers, or the silken tones of vampires. So Jezebel has a little bit of a different voice. Goodbye. Bye, Billy. Generally think the different level of Griffin is important, should be noted. Yes, absolutely. Dramatic pauses. Yeah. Okay. So then Micah explains to Bryce the reason he's there, the reason he's informing her about Danica's death is because he wants her to help find the murderer. So that then leads us into chapter 12. And basically, Jezeba is kind of like, if you're going to take my assistant, she kind of schools him on the rule book, says that he needs to compensate her for taking his assistant. He says no. Then she recites some rules. Then he says, okay, fine. It also says that he considered the 400-year-old sorceress on the screen. He'd heard rumors that Jezeba answered only to the Underking, that she could transform people into common animals if they provoked her, that she once been a witch, left her clan for reasons unknown, most likely bad ones, and she wound up a member of the House of Flame and Shadow. So it's also revealed that what's his name? I'm already blanking. Philip Briggs is still in prison, which confuses Bryce because she was like, so you're essentially saying it's not Philip Briggs. And he's like, no, but he's still going to remain in prison, which is a little intense. Okay, so then the reason Micah is so adamant about Bryce helping is because leaders from across the territory are going to attend the summit, airing their grievances, maybe a few guest appearances from Haldren. He had Hunt himself and he has not attended a summit in Valbara, so this will be his first one. But he does know he's going to have to be in his best clothing. It's described as a golden breastplate. The thought of donning the formal armor of the 7 stars of the Asteri crest displayed on his heart made him want to puke. So it's gold. Just want to throw that out there. Eric Northman. Oh yeah, that's a good description. Okay, there any difference in the power between a witch and the sorceress? What's the biggest difference? I don't think there is a difference. I don't know, but I do know that they are described differently, and I would love to know more. I wish I could threaten people and turn them into animals. Same. Okay, so then then Micah reveals that Sandriel is coming. She is representing the Asteri at this the summit, which obviously then upsets Hunt. And then it is also said that the hammer, Pollux and Antonius, he will also be there. And let's see what else. Northwest Pedro. Okay, so there's some more information in here. I'll make sure to put this all in the notes. They do believe that the demon that attacked them belonged to the pit. Perhaps it was a pet of the Star Eater himself. Only the depths of the pit could summon and evolve a creature who had never seen light or never heard of it. You honestly think I can find anything when the Ox and the 33 couldn't? Blah blah. Okay. And then rereading this, there was a really interesting paragraph about Lydia Servos. You know what's so funny? I'm pretty sure one of my gamer friends uses this last name, so I should send this to him. The Republic's most notorious spy hunter and breaker. It says they are a deer shifter, known as the Hind, reported directly to the Asteri, and was known to be Pollux's lover. The hammer and the Hind, smasher in the battlefields. So there's a few people that are referenced in here. The Hind, the Harpy, and obviously the hammer. And I was like, okay, let's make sure we mark that down because that seems important. Let's see. Then that's when she does all of her fun stuff. Bryce then says that she's going to do what she says. And then and then Hunt is obviously now tracking Bryce. Okay, chapter 13. I'm going to move a lot faster now, okay? Just so that way y'all don't totally go crazy. Oh, Sin Eater. Thanks, Avery. I just saw your message. Okay, let me go ahead and I'm going to go really fast through part 2. I'm going to just kind of call some things out because we have so many chapters to go through. Okay, so Micah's interest, 13. Micah then revealed in chapter 13, the big thing about this is Hunt, if he solves the murder before the summit, Micah is going to bring his debt down to only 10 kills. Only 10 kills. Okay, so Hunt is extremely motivated now to do this. And that's really important to know. In chapter 14, I wanted to say it. Let's talk about chapter 14 because this is Rune and the Autumn King, and I feel like this is important for crossover. Let me blow my nose. Chapter 14. Let's talk about this chapter. Hold on a second. Is my lipstick totally a mess? No, it's not. It's actually not. Okay, we're good. We're doing good. All right. So, chapter 14. I want to take so I'm going to deep dive into some of these chapters. I'm going to give you, just because I know we are running at like an hour and a half right now, and I don't want to keep us super long. So I'm going to do a really quick summary of a bunch of these chapters, and then I'm going to go back and we're going to do deep dives in some of these together. Okay. So, Chapter 14, we're going to come back and do a deep dive, but this is Rune talks about he talks to the Autumn King, is tasked to find the lunar horn, and then we also hear that Rune's prophecy. So we're going to come back to that one. Chapter 16 is just a really fun chapter with Bryce and Rune. She goes to his house. Hunt is there outside. Rune kind of freaks out a little bit, so it's a fun one. We also get some really kind of cool information in that one about Rune's ordeal and his drop experience. So if you want to check that out, that's in chapter 16. Chapter 18 and 19 is the meat market. I also like to call this Aelin part 2 of Queen of Shadows, in my opinion. With the Viper Queen, there's lots of really intense information in that one, especially about the salt. I would definitely go back and really kind of read those chapters about the salt because it describes it. We're going to also put that in the notes for you guys so you guys can really do that deep dive together. This is also a really key chapter because it talks about the Viper Queen and like what type of shifter she is. She's a snake shifter, but it reveals a little bit more about her abilities. She also tells Bryce to look toward where it hurts the most. That's always where the answers are. We're going to do a really deep dive into chapter 21. So we're going to go back to 14 and 21. 21 is when they go to Luna's temple. This is where I think a lot of crossover stuff is happening. This is also where I think we get a lot of really good information about the Starborn Fae, the Prince of the Pit the Prince of the Pit. And this is also really important, in my opinion, revelationary stuff. So we're going to kind of talk about that. 23 talks about some really important things, including the God Slayer rifle, which is the Memento Mori rifle. And an acolyte is killed, which is really upsetting. Bryce also learns that the angel that she saved the night of the attack was Micah in 23, which is, I don't know if anyone else had a shock of information, but I was, I was blown away by that completely. Okay. I feel like the ordeal could have been fleshed out a bit more. I don't know the purpose it's really explained. Might come up again in Sky and Breath. I absolutely think so, because since that's the Fae house, I think you are 100% right, Olivia. Absolutely. Because I have some questions about that too. Okay, 25 through 26, that's when the bomb goes off in the White Raven. Bryce, Juniper, and Rune are all inside. They believe that this is because of the human rebellion. They think it was specifically targeted. 27, this is why when you find out why Bryce hasn't made the drop yet. Then Hunt also tells Bryce about Micah's bargain to him. Hunt officially moves into the guest bedroom, and then we learn he also learns who Bryce's mom and adoptive father are. 29 is Rune Hunt inside of Griffin Antiquities. We're going to do a little bit of a deep dive in this one because there's lots of information about the Starborn Fae, so we'll go back to that. 30 through 31, this is when they go to the barracks and they run into Sandriel. My personal opinion, this is one of the funniest moments of the book. I love rereading this. Bryce is at her A game. This is like flashbacks to Aelin. I absolutely love this. 100% recommend that. 32 is as a reaction of Bryce's interaction with Sandriel and Micah. Hunt then is punished to go on a mission really quick. We're gonna do a deep dive of 33. This is Hunt's Oracle visit, so we're gonna go back to that one. 34 has a little bit more information on Bryce and why she's in Sky and Breath. 35 is a really good one. We're probably gonna do a deep dive of tonight. It is visiting Briggs. 36 is the shooting range, which we probably won't do a deep dive, but it is one of the best moments of the book. And I think it's the first time Hunt is like, okay, you're hot. You're hot. So we're okay. 37, there was another murder. There's a confrontation with Sabine, and Declan finds out who tampered with the sound the night the horn was stolen. So that's kind of a quick deep dive. So we're going to go through 33. We're going to go through 29. I'm just going to highlight these. 29. We're going to go through 14. We're going to go through these chapters really quick. Okay. And then we'll talk a little bit about, and then we're going to talk about My Hunt's father theory. Okay, 14. Let's go through 14 really quick. This is with the Autumn King. So Rune, this is a Rune chapter. This is in Rune's point of view. It had nothing to do with the 30 blocks that he'd run the unofficial office above the dive bar of the old square over to where his father's sprawling marble villa in the heart of Firo. Rune let out a breath and knocked. Inside of the Autumn King's personal study, there was bookshelves, rose 2 stories on every wall, crammed with tomes and artifacts, both old, new, and magic and ordinary. The golden balcony bisect the rectangular space, accessible by either the spiral staircase at the front, the back, heavy black curtains. So there's just a lot of stuff. The other thing I found really interesting is there is a working model of the 7 planets and moons in the sun, made from solid gold, in there. His father, and when he asked his father what he was looking for, he said patterns. Rune passed by one of the tables where there was an iridescent liquid bubbled within a glass orb set over a burner, a flame likely of his father's making, puffs of violet smoke curling from it. So his father's a bit of an experimental person, which I never really caught on the first time around, but this time I was like, what are all these objects in his, this is just, what? Like, this is so weird. Okay, so, then there's some information a little bit more about the city heads. Most of the city heads are elected, but it was a little bit murky with the wolves and obviously with the Fae. So there was claiming responsibilities. But Rune had been heading up the Fae division of the Ox for 15 years now. His father had given him the command and he obeyed it. I didn't really find him a lot of joy, though. Okay, then it's so basically Rune is in here. He says, I received a report earlier. It appears that Philip Briggs wasn't the murderer. Rune says, when were you going to tell me? He goes, and then his father, who's a bit of a jerk, says, am I beholden to you? Though they were close in depth of power, the fact remained that Rune, despite his starborn status, possessed the Star Sword, would always have just a little less than his father. He never decided, after he'd gone through his ordeal and made the drop 50 years ago, whether it was a relief or a curse to have come up short on the power ranking. On the other hand, had he surpassed his father, the playing field would have tipped in his favor. On the other, it would have established him firmly as a rival. Okay. Just want to make sure everyone's paying attention to that. Okay, so his father was nearly 500 years old, and he had been the Autumn King for most of that. Rune was also one of dozens of Fae princes across of Midgard, and had met most of the other ones in the decades, but he stood apart as the only starborn among them, among all the Fae. Vane kings stationed in the various territories of the heads of city districts and swaths in the wilderness. Some of them have been waiting for their thrones for centuries, counting down each decade of the mere months. Rune never stayed in the villa that his father had gifted him after he received the starborn. The sword. Instead, he has like a house that he lives in with his friends. Officially, Rune doesn't like that his father pays for a lot of these things. Very Witcher with the different spears. Yeah, the shooting rays. Okay, this scene, me too. Autumn King, literally. Oh yeah, from the Golden Compass. Yeah, you're right. Okay. Ooh, whoops. Hold on a second. Sorry, guys. I have the worst sinuses ever, and whew, they're not doing good today. Okay, so let's see. Bitten off his head. Rune, the political nightmare, setting off the blood feud between the two houses. Basically, he's talking about if he did end up going after Maximus Tertian, because they did question Rune, obviously, about that. And Rune explains that, like, while it would have been obviously a nightmare for, like, Sky and Breath and Flame and Shadow to be a rivalry, it would be more of a nightmare because the Danon and the Tertian family would have their own rivalry. So, just putting that quickly on here. He then explains that when Bryce first came to visit when she was 13 years old, she was... Rune was very intrigued to meet her. It's very clear in this chapter that Rune has nothing but love for Bryce, but there is a bit of tension between them. And then it also says that Rune had visited Bryce frequently at her parents' place over the next 3 years. She was a bright spot, the brightest spot, if he was being honest, until the stupid, shameful night between them that left things in such shambles that Bryce had hated his guts. Beyond his starborn gifts, the bulk of his magic skewed towards his mother's kin, the Fae who ruled Avalon, the mist-shrouded isle of the north, the sacred heart of Fatum. His father... Wait, hold on a second. Do I have it here? Yeah, let me just... I have this one. This will count. Okay, Sacred Heart. His father would have burned Avalon to ashes if he could. That Rune did not possess his father's flames. The flames most of the Valbaran Fae. Instead, he possessed the Avalon abilities more than Rune ever let on to summon and walk through shadows. An unforgivable insult. Okay, so then he says let's talk a little bit about Rune's mother really quick. Okay, so it says that Rune's mother, he asks if she can have permission to know what's going on. Rune's father, the king, says yes. It says, just as Rune's mother obeyed every order her entire life, she listened, lied low, no doubt gladly accepted the extra guards that were sent to her villa down the block from his own until everything was sorted out. Maybe he'd even let her stay tonight. She wasn't a queen. She wasn't even a consort or a mate. No, his sweet, kind mother had been selected for one purpose, breeding. The Autumn King had decided after a few centuries of ruling that he wanted an heir, and as the daughter of a prominent noble house that deflected from the Avalon court, she had done her duty gladly, grateful for the eternal privilege it offered. In all of Rune's 75 years of life, he'd never heard her speak one ill word about his father, about the life that she had been constricted to. Yet none had been formally chosen, not as she was, to continue the royal bloodline, but when Bryce had come along, a few times his mother had met her, she'd been kind and doting even. Okay. He might even understand his mother, yet didn't stop the fierce pride that he took looking after the bloodline of his... Hold on, let me grab the right book for this one. Where is it? Formally, okay. Constant, fierce pride line. Constant reminder that he didn't. Fierce pride of bloodline that his shadow walking set him apart from the asshole in front of him. A constant welcome reminder that he didn't have to turn into a domineering prick. Even most of his mother's kin in Avalon were a little better. His cousins especially. What fae does this remind you of? What fae? Okay. All right. Let's see. Okay. Then he explains that he asks if the Autumn King can talk to his mother, but he says no. And it says. Okay, so you befitted well. Rue didn't dare voice or tried to spring from his mouth, even as my stupid title brought you further influence into the empire among your fellow keys. It still chafed, didn't it? That your son, retrieved the starborn from the cave of princes in Avalon's dark heart. That your son, not you, stood among the long-dead starborn princes asleep in the sarcophagi and was deemed worthy to pull the sword from its sheath. How many times did you try to draw the sword when you were young? How much research did you do in this very study to find the ways to wield it before it was chosen? And then his father asks him for his gift. He says, why? The starborn abilities were a little more than a sparkle of starlight in his palm. His shadow talents were a more interesting gift. Even more even-tempered monitors of the high-tech cameras in the city couldn't detect him when his shadows walked. Okay? It ordinarily took Rune a good amount of concentration to summon the starlight. It usually left him with a headache afterwards. Me who has a garbage memory of all the books, but has garbage memory, what? Autumn King is unworthy. Yeah. Okay, so Basically, he asks Rune to use a little bit of a starlight. He does. It's kind of giving Rune a bit of a headache. He's starting to get kind of irritated. He says, just another moment. Another click of the device. Another jot note of an ancient, rigid hand. The old language of the Fae. Hold on a second. Ooh, whoops. The old language of the Fae. His father recorded everything from the half-forgotten language their people had used when they first came over to Midgard through the Northern Rift. Old language of the Fae. Okay, he studied how light moves through the world, how it can be shaped. That's another book, but I'll grab it later. Okay, it's another one of these books, but I'll grab it later. Okay, all Fae, male and female, visited the Oracle at the age of 13. It was one of the two great rites entered into adulthood. First the Oracle, then the ordeal a few years or decades later. Basically, then the Autumn King drops the bomb that he wants Rune to marry. Just do the crossover. Putting my crossover notes immediately. If you need chapters, I can write them down. But just know that there's very few people who can read the old language of the Fae. One of them being Rhys and Amryn, and the other is Samantha, help me out. What's his name? The kitchen guy, the storyteller. It's not Rowan. It starts with an E. You know what I'm talking about. What's his name? Starts with an E. I know there's a delay, so I'll wait. Okay. Okay, there's a raging war in case you weren't aware. So he's essentially asking that Rune marries because he wants more of an allegiance because he thinks that the war that's going on is really bad. Emrys. It's him. Old language of the Fae. Yep, it's him. Rowan can't. That's a different language. Oh, wait, is it old language of the Fae? The old language of the Fae. Oh, okay, well, technically that is Rowan. There's an ancient language of the Fae as well, which is only Emrys. Okay, anyways, so, all right, let's talk about the horn. So then he asks that Rune look after the horn. Wait, hold on, before I get into this. So he wants Rune to marry. Rune asks, aren't we allies with the Asteri? He goes, we are, but their war is power rankings can easily be reshuffled. We must demonstrate how influential we are. And he says, you're considering talking about marriage to someone who's not Fae. He then reveals that he wants him to marry the new witch queen, Hypexia. The spies tell her that she will heed her mother's old friendship with us and will be skittish enough as a new ruler to accept the friendly offer we hand her. Rune says he's not marrying her. He says, then the Autumn King says, you're the crown prince of Valbara. You have no choice. Luna's horn remains at large. And Rune's like, why? He goes, I want you to find it. And then Rune says, but it's been missing for 2 years. He goes, I now have an interest in locating it. The horn belonged to the Fae first. Public interest in retrieving it has waned. Now it is the right time for us to attain it. Rune's a bit confused, and then finally the Autumn King says, Micah wished to discuss shoring up the city's defenses should the conflict over sea spread here. He made it clear Fae are not as they once were. And then Rune was like, but the Fae Ox are just as good as the wolves are. It's not about our strength in arms, but our strength as people. His father's voice dipped with disgust. The Fae have long been fading. Our magic wanes with each generation like watered down wine. He frowned at Rune. The first starboard prince could blind an enemy with a flash of his starlight. You could barely summon a sparkle in an instant. Okay. And then he said he wanted to he said we gave up the hoard in the first place, then let it be lost years ago. It was stolen from Luna's temple. We didn't lose it, Rune said. We let a sacred artifact of our people be used as a cheap tourist attraction, his father snapped, and I want you to find it again. And he said, but then Rune says the hoard has no power. It is a symbol, and symbols will always wield power of their own. His father's hair had burned brighter. Rune suppressed his urge to cringe, his body tensing with the memory of how the king's burning hand had felt wrapped around his arm, sizzling his flesh. No shadows had ever been able to hide him from it. Find the horn, Rune. If it comes to these shores, our people will need it in more ways than one. The horn was originally possessed by Prince Peleus, the first starborn prince. You may find that like calls to like. Merely researching it could reveal things that you were hidden from others. Like calls to like. Rune then leaves and reveals to us readers that the reason he doesn't want to marry Hypexia has nothing to do with any of like just not wanting to marry her. It is because the oracle revealed to him that the royal bloodline shall end with you. And yep, that's going to haunt all of us. Okay, that's chapter 14. You guys should definitely go back and reread it. I'm going to go all the way to chapter 29 now. Okay, so 29, this is the chapter, hold on a second, let me grab all my notes. 29 is the chapter with Rune, wait, did I miss? No, I want to go to chapter 21. Sorry, I skipped chapter 21. I want to talk about chapter 21, and then we'll go back to 29. 21. Okay, so 21 is at the temple. This is probably your biggest crossover. This is where my crackpot theory comes in, but I've already disproved it, so just ignore me. 21, we're going to talk a little bit about, this is with the temple. So I'm just going to fast forward through some of this. The main thing is that the courtyard itself was modeled after one of the Eternal City. And then obviously Rune, Hunt, and Bryce are there. Rune is there because he's obviously trying to find the horn, and they believe as his starborn abilities, he should be able to sense it. And then Bryce or Hunt are obviously there because they're also like investigating everything. And then there is, it says, all right here, folks, this is a statue of Luna herself. Lunathian's patron goddess was crafted from a single block of marble hewn from the famed Calperian quarries at the Melathos River up north. This temple was the first thing built upon at the city's founding 500 years ago. The location of the city was precisely because of the way the Isthmus River bends. Can someone tell me what the river is shaped as? A crescent. It is shaped as a crescent. And let's see, the guide, fancy trick. Wait, where's the description of Luna? Okay, I want to quickly read the description of Luna because I also think it's important. So Luna was sat in a carved golden throne, the goddess lovely, rendered in a shimmering moonstone. Her silver tiara of a full moon held two crescent ones graced upon her upswept curly hair. At her sandaled feet lay twin wolves, their baleful eyes daring any pilgrim to come closer. Across the back of her throne, a bow of solid gold had been slung, its quiver full of silver arrows. Hold on. Silver arrows. The pleats of the thigh-length robe draped across the lap, veiling the slim figures resting there. Okay. All right. So let's go into some of this information. So, okay, the hoard, it was all over the news. There was a terrible theft around it. All right. And then Hutt says, all right, Dana, get to the point. Why did you ask Bryce to come? Because I was tasked by the Autumn King to find the horn. Athlar then questions, is that why you asked about it last night? It says, what is the horn exactly? And then Bryce says, it's a bunch of fairy tale bullcrap. You really dragged me here for this to help what? Impress your daddy? Because obviously they don't reveal the things. The cover is Bryce, right? Yes. TOG gods. Yes. There's one god in particular. Okay. All right. So growling, Rune pulled out his phone to make sure the shadows held around him. So he has a bunch of shadows kind of covering them right now. And he snapped in the Fae archives last night. Luna's horn was a weapon wielded by Peleus, the first starborn prince during the First Wars. The Fae forged it in their homeworld, named it for the goddess in their new one, and used it to battle the demon horns that
once they made the crossing. Peleus wielded the horn until he died. Rune put a hand to his chest. My ancestor, whose power flows in my veins. I don't know how it worked, how Peleus used it with his magic, but the horn became enough of a nuisance for demon princes that they did anything they could to retrieve him. Rune then held out his phone. It showed a manuscript. The illustration had carved horn, lifted its lips to the helmeted Fae male with pristine as it had been inked a millennia ago. Above the figure gleamed an 8-point star, the emblem of a starborn. So this is the only time I've mentioned 8 points. It's usually 7, but 8-point star. Okay. Rune went on. The Star Eater himself bred a new horror just to hunt the horn. Using some blood, he managed to spill from Prince Peleus on the battlefield of his own terrible essence. The beast twisted out of a collision of light and darkness. Rune then swiped his phone. The next illustration appeared. The reason he'd come here to make this gamble. And Bryce recoiled. You recognize it. That's the demon that I found attacking the angel that night. The one that attacked you too, Hunt said. What is it? It dwells in the darkest pits, the depths of the pit. So lightness that the Star Eater named it the Crystallos, a demon for its clear blood and teeth. And then he said, no one put this together 2 years. I think it was taken 2 years to put together, Rune said carefully. This volume was deep in the Fae archives with the stuff that is not allowed to be scanned. None of your research would have ever pulled it up. The entire damn thing was in the old language of the Fae. Old language of the Fae. And it had taken them almost a night to translate it. Oh, Silver Flames is not. You get it. It's both books, okay? During the final battle of the First Wars, Prince Peleus and the Prince of the Pit faced each other. The two of them fought for 3 effing days until the Star Eater struck the final blow, but not before Did I say Sin Eater? I meant Star Eater. Sin Eater is Queen of Shadows. Okay. Anyways, the Brethren armies back to the Hell. He sealed the Northern Rift forever, so only small craft with the summoning with salts can bring them over now. So you mean to tell me this deadly artifact, which the Prince of the Pit literally bred new demons to hunt, is just sitting there in this temple, and no one from this world or Hell tried to take it until the blackout? Why? Well, the hoard was cracked in two when Peleus sealed the Northern Rift. Wait. He sealed the Northern Rift? You mean like another person I know that sealed a... Never mind. Okay. If you know, you know. Okay. Anyways, the Fae of the Asteri tried for years to renew it through magic and spells, but no luck. It had given a place and honor in the Asteri archives, but then it was established Lunathian a few millennia later had dedicated a temple here. That the Fae allowed the artifact to be given over suggests they dismissed its worth. That even my father might have forgotten its importance. You think summoning the demon was to hunt for the horn, but why? When it has no longer power. You think its victims... So essentially, Rune believes that the horn, since it was wielded by a starborn Fae, could be wielded... Like, Rune should have a sense of where it is now and could potentially wield it, but it is broken in two, and so he doesn't know if it's possible. That's essentially what he's saying. And it says, why are you looking for it? He says, because Prince Peleus' starborn power was woven into the horn itself. It's in my blood. My father thinks I have some sort of natural gifts to find it. When I was browsing the archives last night, the book practically jumped out at me. It shimmered. All I know is I was down there for hours, and then I was sent this book, and I saw the illustrations of the horn, and there it was. The crap I translated confirmed it. So the Crystallos can track the horn, but so can you. If we find the demon who's behind this and we find the horn, the Crystallos will come, and then it says we better get cracking. So these are just some of the really important information. This also really leans into my Hunt father theory, which I will get in at the end of this live stream. So if you haven't finished the book, I'll let you know, and then you can leave. Okay? All right. That's basically 21. There's a few more information about the going to the temple, Hunt's on the phone. He then reveals the bargain. And then Hunt is like, I didn't realize the horn was going to play a vital piece in this whole thing. All right. Now, 29. Let's talk 29. Okay. 29. Rune Hunt, go inside Griffin Antiquities and the Starboard line information. Let us read this chapter. So we're not going to read the whole chapter. A lot of this is just kind of background, but I want to make sure we talk about... let me find the paragraph. There's also a really good little thing about type 6 demons, Hunt explains. And then she asks, is the Chrysalis a type 6 demon? Hunt says he's assuming it is. Type 7 is only for the princes themselves, given what the things they can do. I bet it'd be deemed a type 6. I haven't seen any similarities, though. Okay, so then... Rune, by the way, Rune has the sword with him. And when he... Oh, can I see the sword? I left it at home. He doesn't have the sword with him. Just kidding. I thought this was the time he had the sword with him. Starboard guide you with enlightenment. Funny, he said. Okay, let's see. Music playing. Danica. Oh, Danica was on duty the night of the temple. That's important to know. There was a full coordinates correlating her locations. Danica's daily route as alpha of the pack of devils had her moving throughout the old square and beyond, not to mention her healthy social life after sundown. The list covered everything from the apartment, the den, the city head, the comitium, the tattoo parlor, the burger joint, too many pizza places to count, bars, concert venues, CCU Sunball area, hair salons, the gym. Did she ever get sleep? Basically, Danica wasn't usually stationed at the temple, but Sabine often switched her schedule around for spite. Maybe Danica had some of the horn sent on her from being on duty. So then Rune kept reading. Let's see. Was there anything else about the... I think that's kind of the main... Oh, here we go. Okay, so they're looking at everything, and then they said, did you find something? Rune says yes and no. This is just a 3-page account of Prince Peleus and the bride and his bride, Lady Helena. But I didn't realize that Peleus was actually the high general for the Fey queen named Thea, and they entered the world during the crossing. Helena was her daughter. From the sounds of it, Queen Thea was also starborn, and her daughter possessed the same power. Thea had a younger daughter with the same gift, but only Helena is mentioned. Night-haired Helena, from whose golden skin poured starlight and shadows. Who does that remind us of? Who does that remind us of? Just throwing that out there. Okay, then it says... Okay, it mentions here that the sacred objects were made only for Fae like them, that the horn only worked when the starlight flowed through them. It was filled with power. The claims of the starborn magic, in addition to a bunch of other craft, can be channeled through sacred objects, bringing them to life. It says that why the Prince of the Pit had to steal Peleus' blood to make the chrysalis to hunt the horn. It contains that essence. I think the horn could have been wielded by any of them, though. But if the Prince of the Pit had gotten his hands on the horn, he wouldn't be able to use it unless he had starborn Fae to operate it. And he nodded to Rune. Even if whoever wants the horn finds it now, they'd have to use you. But let's not forget, whoever is summoning the demon to track the horn, they'd kill these people. But the horn is broken anyway, Bryce says. Permanently broken, apparently. It says here that it was cracked. Faye claimed it could only be repaired by light that is not light, magic that is not magic. Basically a convoluted way of saying there is no chance in hell of it ever working again. So... basically, it drives him nuts that my chosen one powers are barely more than a kernel. Bryce knew her own lack of power had been part of her father's disgust with her, proof of her Fae failing influence. And then Bryce then says that her father never had any interest because of the same reason, especially after her visit with the Oracle. She says it's a long story. She doesn't want to talk about it. This whole section is about your fancy Avalon cousins, shadow walking, mind reading. I'm surprised they don't claim they're starborn. They wish they were. They were a bunch of pricks. No mind reading for you. It's mind speaking, he grumbled. It has nothing to do with the starborn stuff, or in this case. What if we ask the Oracle about the horn? The mystics are some dark, effed up shit. We'll try the Oracle first because of what happened to your visit, blah, blah. Da, 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 da. Okay. That's 29. Okay, last section. Last one we're going to go through tonight, okay? 33. Hunt's oracle visit. Last thing we're going to go through tonight, and then I'm going to send you guys off. Okay. Okay, 33. Oh, you guys were asking about a doc. Oh, we'll have a doc as well. That'll be uploaded this weekend, so you guys will get all this information. Okay. Hunt goes and visits the oracle. He asks questions about the horn. But the first thing when he meets the oracle, he says, what I say here is confidential, right? It says, once the gods speak, I become a conduit through which the word passes. She arranged herself on the floor of the hole, but yes, it shall be confidential. Why does someone want Luna's horn? She blinked. To open a doorway between worlds, a chill seized Hunt. They wished to use the horn to reopen the northern rift. The horn's purpose wasn't merely to close doors, it opens them too, depending on the bearer's wish. But the horn's broken, it can be healed. How? It's veiled, I cannot see, none can see. The legends, the Fey legends say it can't be repaired. Those are the legends. This is the truth, the horn can be repaired. The Sphinx wouldn't share what would repair the horn. Wait, whoops. Oh, wait. What happened? What is going on here? Hold on. Okay. Fey legends. Okay, this is too veiled. Okay, he says helpful, and then he said the Sphinx says to Hunt, "Be careful, Lord of Lightning, that you learned anything at all. That voice, the title, his mouth would dry. Do you wish to know what I see in your future, Orion Athalar? No one has spoken that name in 200 years." He whispered, "The name your mother gave you." Yes, he ground it out. "Shall I tell you what I see, Orion? I'm not sure I want to know." Smoke peeled back through enough to him. Her sensuous lips parted a cruel smile. "People come from across Midgard to plead for my visions, yet you do not wish to know." The hair on the back of his neck stood. "Thank you, but no." That seemed wise. Her teeth showed the canine's long and shredded flesh. "Did Bryce Quinlan tell you what occurred when she stood in the chamber 12 years ago? That's Quinlan's business." "You do not wish to know what I saw for her?" "No." He was hesitant. "It's her business," he repeated. "You remind me," rallied against the oracle, bleaked a slow bob of those thick lashes. "You remind me of that which was lost long ago," she said. "I had not realized it might ever appear again." But before Hunt dared ask what it meant, the lion's tail, a larger version of the Sphinx, swayed to the floor. "Do yourself a favor, Orion Athalar. Keep well away from Bryce Quinlan." And that is chapter 33. So, there you go. There you go, guys. That was like a very intense wrap up. How's everyone feeling? How's everyone? I know it's a lot. How's everyone doing? We kind of went through this a little quick. I did want to go through a ton of it. Any major questions before I send off anyone who has not finished the book? Because then I'll go into my Hunt theory. What Oracle SJM? What? Yeah, I know. Can I tell you, going through these chapters was a bit tough. Part 1 is probably the most intense part. That's why we spent a good chunk of time on it. But part 2 has some wild stuff in it too. But I wanted to make sure we go over some of the stuff. We are definitely there dying to talk crossovers. We're going to do a whole crossover stream. Avery from Freckles and Fiction is going to hop into that one. Me and her go wild. I think Samantha might join us on that one as well, if she wants. And then I think we might have a little bit more. I think maybe one other person might join us. Okay. No crazy part 1, part 2 questions. So I'll go into my Hunt theory. I'm going to give everyone about 2 minutes. I've been invested in this since Throne of Glass came out, right? I feel you. I feel that. Hold on a second. I'm just going to rearrange some of my stuff. Wait, 8 point. Oh, what? Avery's messaging me on Instagram. Wait, seriously? If Avery's still in here. We'll talk tonight. Wait, really? Hold on. When did she make that deal? Okay, you know what? You and I can go down this spiral later. Now I feel like I need to quickly reread Silver Flames for the crossover stream. Yeah, can I please? Oh yeah, you can join. Absolutely, Samantha. Yeah. Okay. You and I will talk on Marco Polo. Okay. I want to know the Oracle Saw. Okay. I'm invested. Daddy talk hunt time. Okay. I have 100 pages left. Can I stay? No. Sorry. No, you can't. I'm so sorry. Is this time for me to leave because I need to finish the book? Yes, if you have not finished the book, I appreciate you guys hanging out. I hope you guys had a great time. To let you know what's going on before you leave officially, let me tell you what's happening. So let me pull up my calendar because I always forget. Okay, so this month we have, obviously this was the CC recap for part 1. Tomorrow, by the way, is the announcement for the Thirsty Book Club. So if you are part of the Spicy Club, which is my Patreon book club, tomorrow I will be announcing the February book. So if you want to get a sneak peek of what our February book is, that will be officially announced tomorrow. Also, I'm also going to, for any of my Reading Roses, which is my $10 Patreon members, next week, early next week, you're also going to get a sneak peek, hopefully, of the March book. I still have to read it to confirm that it is the March book, but I'm 99% sure it's the March book. And then I will also give you an idea of what our April book is as well, what we're looking at. On the 22nd, we are doing something really fun in the Discord, which I'm really excited about. This is Saturday of next week. We're having a Fangs and Bangs movie night, also known as we're watching True Blood together. So we're going to be like Lahaba and sit and watch True Blood. So if you want to join us in that, make sure you have an HBO Max subscription. We'll kind of walk you through the steps of how you can kind of join in. We're just going to watch a few episodes together. If you've never seen the show before, don't worry. We're going to do it all together. But we are very excited for that. We will be back on the 28th. So in 2 weeks, we're going to come back and we're going to do recap part 2. So that's going to be sections 3 and 4. We're definitely going to go down some rabbit holes there. I'm not going to do any major crossover. I won't talk too much about Theories of Sky and Breath because we will have a Zoom session as a group together to kind of have that discussion. So that is what we are doing. Our all SJM crossover is happening on February 4th. That is going to be a wild stream. So if you guys have never joined, it's going to be really intense. It's going to be so much fun. We go deep. So my knowledge of Throne of Glass with Avery, Freckles and Fiction's knowledge of ACOTAR, I mean, there's no stops with the two of us. So you will definitely enjoy it. Samantha, who also helped me with the Throne of Glass, she's going to be also joining that as well. So y'all got it covered. Let me tell you, that's going to be a really fun, crazy, wild stream. It's one of my favorites. And then on the 11th of February, that is just going to be a Zoom session where we get to talk. Last time as a group, we get to talk together about Crescent City before we all get Sky and Breath. And then we will be having a midnight party on February 14th, also Valentine's Day. It's going to be a short one. It'll probably happen between 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Central Standard Time, also like 10 p.m. to 12 Eastern, just because I know it's Valentine's Day. I want you guys to enjoy Valentine's Day. But for anyone who does want to kind of hang out and celebrate right before the book is released on Kindle, we're going to be doing that together. There's going to be some giveaways during that stream. I'm going to have a few book talkers and potentially some podcast friends hop on and say hello. And then we have Crescent City coming out on the 15th of February, which is so exciting. And then we will also then reveal when our spoiler session will happen. So we have some wild, crazy stuff. Like I said, we're going to start to put some resources in the Discord. If you're not very comfortable with Discord, don't worry about it. I'm working on some other ways that you guys can be involved in the book club if anyone's very overwhelmed by Discord or confused. So please don't worry about that. But we have a lot that we're doing. I'm not done with Throne of Glass for the crossovers. You have a month if you read fast. Why do I want to go to that more than wedding dress shopping. Oh my gosh, you're funny. There we go. This is going to be wild. One more month. Thank you. Yeah, 30 days. I know. I'm so happy. Yay, I'm glad you guys are here. So if you haven't joined the Discord, please, I'll put the link in really quick. So if you guys want to join it, you can. Let me grab it. Actually, I'm just going to give you guys this link. So this is all of my links. This is to Discord. This also gives you information about the Spicy Club, the Monthly Club, the Series Club. Series Club's going to start up in April. So you guys have a little bit of time with that. We are definitely looking at some pretty cool fantasy series for that. Patreon, if you wish to help support us. I have been blown away by the support on Patreon. If you are a Patreon member, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Like, I was so nervous about launching that, and I mean, you really blew it out of the water. I'm so thrilled that this month we have King of Battle and Blood is our book. We're meeting with Scarlett St. Clair on Thursday, the author, which has been absolutely incredible. There's lots of dates in the Discord. If you have questions, the court has been absolutely incredible. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. Hunt's Theory. Okay, all right. Now you guys can leave. All right. Anyway, bye if you haven't finished the book. Because I'm going to talk about Hunt now. So bye. Thank you so much for hanging out. I appreciate it. I will see you very, very soon. I love that you got to hang out with us tonight. Goodbye. Okay. I'm going to give everyone about 30 seconds, and then I'm going to go down my Hunt Theory. I'm an introvert, so this is my social life. Same. I mean, I'm not introverted, sort of. I'm like half, you know. Love having people reading my life. If I audio at work, then I could probably finish on a glass, but I miss... Oh, yeah. Where exactly it's a bit confusing. Yeah, believe me, we have tried so many times to make that Discord as concise as possible, but we just have a lot, okay? All right, you guys ready? Okay, so let me explain really quickly before I totally go down this rabbit hole. Number one, before I should also clarify, this whole thing came up in a Zoom call with some of my book talk friends. Books on My Third Place, Ashley was in the call, and then Bookishly May was in the call. Bookishly May and I are pretty much on the same reading schedule right now. We're pretty close to the same reading schedule. So we were kind of bouncing off of each other. Everyone needs to go yell at Ashley to get started on her reread, because historically she tends to wait to the last minute. And I love her to death. So that's why I like saying that. But anyways, before I did this reread, I was if you haven't heard my crazy Valg theory, which isn't my theory, but I take ownership of it because I just love it so much, but I didn't come up with it. I believe that the Asteria are Valg, and I have some evidence that points to that, but not complete evidence. And I really hope that Sarah J. Maas does it, because it is a genius, concept. That doesn't mean a massive crossover, doesn't mean that Aelin and all of them are crossing over, but I would just absolutely love that they be Valg, because it would be awesome. And I won't get into too many Throne of Glass spoilers, so if you haven't read the series, you don't know who that is. The Valg are a very big villain of Throne of Glass. They're honestly one of the most intriguing villains of Throne of Glass, and so I would just love, and they do appear a little bit in ACOTAR, and I would love for them to be the villain of I just think they'd be the Asteri. So for a very, very long time, I thought that Hunt was part Valg, similar to another character from Throne of Glass who potentially could be part Valg. If you know, you know, but I don't want to say who, wink, wink. Okay. So I was convinced that's what it was until I read some things. So I put this in Discord and things started to kind of come together. Updated in the court chat. Okay, thank you, Avery. I'm sure everyone's like, oh, Avery spoke in the court chat. Avery's only thank you. Okay. So let me pull up the Discord so I can keep my notes straight. So I was reading part 1 and part 2, and you should know during my reread I've been skipping around a ton, kind of going crazy in terms of I don't know, I just I skip around during my rereads, which don't make any sense. So I was drinking wine because I had to get through part 1, and I couldn't. I think the night before, 2 nights prior, I got to chapter 3, got really upset, and then couldn't get to chapter 4 or 5. And so I got drunk and read chapter 4 and 5. And then I was like, I'm going to read these things in sequential order. So I read Meeting Hunt. I read Bryce, Hunt, and Rune's trip to the temple, which is what we just went over. I read Adis's first appearance, and then I read the epilogue. Okay, so I read those things in order. So I'm going to uncover some of this stuff. Okay, so first, when Isaiah introduces Hunt, I thought it was weird that he describes him as predator, killer, monster. We talked about that tonight. It still kind of bothers me. I don't really get that. So that to me indicates that Hunt is more than just an angel. Then when Rune explains the Starborn line, obviously, if you finish the book, major spoilers. If you have not finished the book, please leave. No, seriously, if you have not finished it, like, I don't care if you're 50 pages away from the end, 100 pages, like, leave right now, because I don't want to tell you this unless you finished it, okay? So I'm going to give you a second. Okay, so Bryce obviously is a Starborn Fae. She's like super, like, she's the legit Starborn Fae, which was a huge shock at the end of the book, obviously. And so when you know that and you reread this book, it's very intriguing because you're like, you see so many of these hints and you see so many of these like little moments that you're kind of like, wait, what? I mean, that's why tonight I referenced a lot of things about like Danica's power being bigger than the Autumn King. And like, because Bryce obviously on top of the Starborn line also has like an intense amount of power and all this stuff. And the horn, which is obviously attached to Bryce, connects her direct, like she essentially now is an open portal. Like she is forever an open portal. Okay. So when I was rereading this and Rune is explaining that the Star Eater was threatened by the horn and he made a demon specifically to hunt it, I started to think, okay, so that's a problem for Bryce because she's got this horn on the back of her. The Star Eater is still alive. The Star Eater is also one of the only known people to kill an Asteri, aka the woman who is I don't know if you call her a woman, whatever, sitting on the throne, you know, the empty throne. That was a Star Eater. And I was like, okay. So then I started thinking, and it kind of confused me. So then I went to Adis's arrival because I was like, Adis also had this inkling about the Starborn Fae with Bryce, but he also was shocked to see Hunt when he first met him. Which let me like read some of that really quick. Does someone remember the chapter that, you know what? I'll just search Adis's name. There we go. Easy peasy. So when you search Adis's name, when he sees Hunt, it says he blinked once as if he'd not really marked his presence. As if he cared not to notice with Bryce before him, Hunt tucked away the fact and Adis said, "Who are you?" A command. And then Bryce says, "He's eye candy, not for sale," which I love Bryce. And then Adis says, "A fallen warrior with the power of..." Adis's groomed brows lifted, surprised. His blue opal eyes narrowed into slits, then simmered like the hottest flame. "What are you doing with a black crown around your brow?" Hunt didn't dare let the surprise question. Adis looked between them now, carefully. He didn't bother to let Hunt answer his question before that awful smile returned. "The 7 princes in hell dwell in the darkness and do not stir. We have no interest in your realm. I believed if you and your brethren had been rattling the northern rift for the past 2 decades, Hunt said, and if I hadn't been cleaning up after it." Adis sucked in a breath. "You do realize that it might not be my people. The northern rift opens to other places, other realms, yes, but other planets as well. Well, what is hell but a distant planet bound to yours by a ripple of space and time?" And then they ask if hell is a planet. Adis shrugs. "It's as real of a place as Midgard, though most of us would have you believe it wasn't. Your kind fallen were made in Midgard by the Asteri, but the Fae, the shifters and others came from their own worlds. The universe is massive. Some believe it has no end, or that the universe might be a multitude as bountiful as the stars in the sky or the sand of the beach." So he says, "You're not the one rattling the rift. Lesser princes do that. Levels 1 through 4, Adis says. Those of us in true dark have no need or interest in the sunshine. But even they did not sin the Crystallos. Our plans do not involve such things." Okay, so right now, currently, the lower ones are the ones that are going through the Northern Rift. But the Prince of the Pits, which is the most powerful one, the 7th one, the Star Eater, was after the horn. which opens realms. Why? Why would he be after the horn? Okay, so I started thinking. I was like, well, I know some people believe that Hunt's father could be one of the princes. And I was like, what if it... So then I was like, maybe it's the Star Eater. Okay. Then when you go to the epilogue and Jezeba and Adis talk, they bring up Bryce. Okay, so now you go to the epilogue. And the conversation shifts really quick. It says, I shall never forget the exact shine and hue of Thea's life. It was the song in my blood. Jezebel then studied him for a moment. And Hunt Athalar, Adis fell silent as the petitioner stumbled past, hoping to beat the crowds that filled the Oracle's park. Luna's temple, since the portals to his world had opened within the court's gates, and the beasts of the pit had taken full advantage of it. Any who had managed to return currently being punished by one of Adis's brothers. He would soon return to join them. But Adis said at last, I think his father would be proud, which implies that he could be one, dead, or two, just not involved and not in the room. And then she says, sentimental of you. And Adis says, feel free to disagree. Of course, you knew the male best. And then Jezeba says, don't FB over this time. He says, I don't plan to, not when things are getting interesting. So, knowing Sarah J. Maas and knowing Throne of Glass, because the series reminds me more of Throne of Glass than it does ACOTAR, I was like pretty much sold at this point that the Star Eater is Hunt's father, because how poetic would it be that the Star Eater has a son that was an angel, that was... I mean, the Asteri made the angels, and what better way to say F you to an angel than sleep with a lesser angel, because remember Hunt's mother was like a maid. Make this extremely powerful angel, and give him lightning abilities, which are not known for angels. But then also poetically make him fall in love with the current bearer of the horn and of like the starlight. And I was like, oh, like it hit me. And then I remembered the passage of Throne of Glass where it says, you were brought here, all of you world, all the players in an unfinished game. And so that is why I strongly believe that the Star Eater, the seventh Prince of Hell, is Hunt's father. So yeah. Okay, let me read some of your comments. Okay, what chapter does Adis come in? Let me find out. Did someone ever say? Adis travel between realms wherever he wants. Yeah. My Hunt's father theory is that Hunt is one of the seven princes of hell because of how Adis. So who's Thea is my question. She is one of the Fae. I do think she came from ACOTAR, though, if I'm going to be honest. Okay, is a dead Asteri. His mother was definitely an angel. I think they would know if he was an Asteri. But that would be a really cool thing. Not the unfinished game again, right? I know. I ship Bryce and Adis. I don't. His mother was definitely... I'm going to regret searching this. Yeah, it says his mother had no money, no distinguished bloodline that made up for it. I don't exactly have females lining up for me. My mother had just died. I was reeling afterwards. I got a public anchor and made the drop. So I don't think she's an Asteri. It wouldn't surprise me, but I don't think so. Adis chapter 51. There's a lot of theories that he was adopted. I was Adis train. I want Adis to train Bryce as well. I view Adis as like a mentorship to Bryce. I really do. I also have a strong feeling, which I know you guys aren't going to like this, because let me, before I say this, say that I want Hunt and Bryce to be endgame. Like, I strongly believe they are. I do not believe any of the other theories that they are not endgame. I do think they are endgame. But I don't think that their relationship is going to make it throughout this book. I think we're going to see at least one breakup from them, potentially two, but definitely one. And, oh, remember when I told you guys that the parts in this book were divided? This is also, I think, the clincher in my theory. The parts are divided in the different layers of hell. If this book ends with the pit, then I'm just saying. There's too many references to hell. It makes me think of something. I also would like to throw out the theory. Hold on. Kingdom of Ash spoilers. So if you haven't read Kingdom of Ash, I'll wave my hands when I'm done. I also believe that in one of the layers of hell is where the gods of Throne of Glass are, but I don't know which one. But I'm convinced on that. Okay? So, just throwing that out there. I need book 2, right? Okay, but what is the game that Adis and Jezeba play, though? I've always wondered why Jezeba kept light. I don't know. That's a good question. Because I think he doesn't remember much of his childhood. Adis is so much older, like thousands of years, right? I need more Jezeba backstory. Say. I don't think his mother is his mother. Ooh, okay, interesting. The Pit of Despair, aka the breakup. Yeah, exactly. The pit for sure. But I think the parts represent her journey towards the drop. They did. They did, for sure. But why did it end on the 4th? These are all the lower levels. Where's the upper levels? I think the Asteri keep a lot of the knowledge to themselves, so maybe the war between Thea and the Star Eater was different. I also think you could be correct on that as well. Do we know how many books are supposed to be in the series? So she's signed for 3, but my guess is it's going to be 4 since there's 4 houses. Do you think we'll get to meet the Star Eater? I hope so. I would love to. I would love that. I would love that. That would be great. Yeah, 1 book for each house. We might not get a Many Waters book. That wouldn't surprise me if we don't get a Many Waters. We just go right to Flame and Shadow. But there's a lot of Therion, from my understanding in this book. So maybe we will get a Many Waters and it will make sense. But since this book is called Sky and Breath, and Sky and Breath is the Angel and the Fae house, I think we're going to get a lot of Fae stuff in this book. And probably a little bit of Angel, because there's quite a bit of Angel in Earth and Blood. But I think we're going to lean heavily on the Fae. I need Therion. Yeah. Oh, can I tell you, when I read Rune chapters, it's like my happy place. Like, oh, I love Rune so much. It's wild. Does anyone think Thea could be a fallen Asteri? Thea perished. Is it Thea? Thea? She perished. So I don't think it's her, but it would be cool. I need 4 to 5 books, right? I know, I agree. Perfect. Does anyone think we all know stuff is going to go down? Also, this is the other thing. Since this is book 1, all of my theories could literally go down the drain in book 2. Like, none of this could be right. I literally could be making all of this up, and it just may, I don't know, because it's the first book, and the first book, historically in her books, is not a good representation of the entire series. I mean, Throne of Glass is not a good representation of Throne of Glass. A Court of Thorns and Roses is not a good representation of ACOTAR. You know what I mean? So, like, I could be totally off, but I am just guessing. And this book, since it has a similar writing style and a similar, it has a similar writing style and it has a similar, like, world building aspect to Throne of Glass, like a much more mature aspect, but still, I'm leaning more towards those than I am ACOTAR, but yeah. When book 2 comes out, yes, we will have a spoiler, yeah. SJM watching our live streams being like, ha. Hey, SJM, if you need help with your lore, I literally have it tapped. So hit me up. You also can take any of my ideas and don't give me credit. I don't need the credit. From one Sarah M to another Sarah M, Thanks. We need an arc reader. God, I wish. If Bryce and Hunt stay a slow burn again, I will riot. No, there's going to be lots of time with them. But somehow this book is my favorite first she's put out. Completely agree with you, Allison. I relate so much strongly to Bryce that I only see Rune as a brother. Fair. I know this is controversial for some people. I love Adian. Like, Adian and Throne of Glass is my happy place. Rune is just a more mature, smarter version of Adian, and I think that's why I love Rune so much. Rune and the crew, as I like to call his roommates, they are also my happy place. I know I should be more attracted to Hunt, but when I found out there was a Rune POV chapter, I did not pass go. We were in Nashville. I was in Nashville with a bunch of book talkers, and I like stopped in the middle of dinner and was like, I have to buy this book. Like, I had to get the Rune book. Do you think we're going to get a... No, I don't. To answer that question. Watch us all be like, yeah, Elizabeth, I think that's exactly what's going to happen, if I'm going to be totally honest. Do you have a theory about Danica's dad? Not yet. Not yet. My BFF almost rioted when I admitted that first book Love to her. She is a serious TOG. Oh yeah. Do you think, so hard to speculate, right? What I wouldn't give to see SJM's crackpot theory, boards and notes. Avery and I definitely have some crazy ones, so. And Samantha joins us on that plenty of time. So that stream is probably going to be a long stream. We'll probably have we usually use Slido in our live streams. If we don't use Slido, we'll use something else so that you guys can put your questions and vote them and everything so we can address them that night. But we will go crazy. You will need all of your books close by because we'll probably reference them and really go wild. Correct theory is Hunt and Danica have the same dad. Ooh. Do we know how Danica knew to steal the horn? Yes. Danica knew to steal the horn because she had pieced together what Micah was doing, and she knew that the horn was going to play an important role in all of this. And she decided to be a step ahead of him by stealing the horn and breaking it up and putting it into Bryce. Because she knew then that Bryce, one, could wield it, and then it also gives her friend a really good advantage. And two, that it would be against Micah. Is Discord sharing the bonus chapters? So my rule, just to be respectful of Bloomsbury, is we don't share. If you wish to share screenshots of bonus chapters, you can do that in your own DMs, but I just ask that it not be in the Discord. Once a book is sold out and the special edition is not going to be, coming out again and everything, probably within 2 months, I'll allow you guys to feel free to share links. But just to be respectful of Bloomsbury and their publishing and everything, I ask that it not be shared directly in our Discord, but you guys are welcome in your DMs to go back and forth. That is just my only thing. Just so you guys know, that's my only request, but feel free in the DMs to share. I just ask that they not be shared publicly just because I want to be respectful of Bloomsbury and Sarah J. Maas. We nerd out for books for a life like Bibles for church, right? Yeah. The reveal of Bryce's dad at the end is what I live for because, oh my God, yes. Can I tell you that is my favorite moment? If there is a moment that I have reread more times in this book than anything, it is when Rune comes in and saves Bryce, and then it is revealed that she is the Autumn King's son. It is my favorite thing to read. Like, oh, people like smut is some people's favorite. No, that, oh, we'll go over it in 2 weeks. I know SJM never had a first love in the main love, but Connor is my first love, which would make Hunt semi-safe. I've heard at Amazon I'll be getting BAM anyways. Yeah. 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 Okay, friends. Well, I will let you guys enjoy the rest of this evening. Please go. Oh yeah, she is our princess is my favorite. That is the best line. I've only known that you're my princess for an hour and you've already got yourself almost murdered. She's like, I'm not a princess. Ah! I can't wait for this next book. I can't wait to see how she is treated as like Fae royalty while Rune is trying to make sure she's not Fae royalty so she doesn't die. Oh, my heart, my heart, my heart. I also did order all the versions. I have the Therion, the Rune, and the Hunt and Bryce. Okay, thank you guys again for hanging out. I really appreciate it. You guys, y'all stuck it out. This was a long stream, almost 3 hours. Goodness gracious. I am out of my game for doing something like this. I'm honestly probably going to lay in bed and read. Avery, I'll meet you in Marco Polo. We'll discuss that Silver Flames connection you made. I will see you guys later. Thank you again for hanging out. I appreciate it. I love y'all. This has been a great live stream. I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope you have a lovely weekend. And we'll be chatting in the Discord, I'm sure, this weekend about Crescent City because that's all we're talking about.